Our council meeting.
You are now live, Your Worship.
All right, thank you very much, Kayla. Thank you and welcome back, members of council. We've just had a brief in-camera meeting, and so we're picking up the meeting now. It is 5:30, so this is the Monday, July the 26th, 2021 council meeting in the Township of Clearview. And so I want to get on with our agenda. Item number 2 on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. And so I'll read the motion, look for a mover and seconder. Recommendation be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda for July 26, 2021 as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder on this motion? Councillor Leishman, Councillor Deneen, thank you. And any questions? Councillor Patterson, are you with me? I'm just checking. Yes, Councillor Patterson is on board. Okay, so all those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you, Council. Item 3, disclosure, pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Is there anybody with a disclosure for this council meeting? Councillor Broderick. Hello, Councillor Broderick, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to declare a pecuniary interest for LS 008 2021. The where is it here? Anyways, the BIA appointment considered.
Oh, okay.
That is me, so I won't be discussing or voting on that.
Okay, as you wish. Thank you very much for that information. Any other members of council? All right, seeing none, if anything comes up. Oh, Councillor McKechnie, go ahead.
Suppose if John's not going to partake in that, maybe I'll step aside as well. So, because it also deals with me. So,
okay. All right. Thank you, Councillor. All right. So we have that recorded. All right, members of council, is there anything further on disclosure? As always, if there's anything else that comes up during the meeting, please bring it forward. We'll deal with it at that time. All right. Thank you, council. Item number 4 is our public participation. So, council, we received quite a group of messages here today, and some of them came in on Sunday as well, in regards to our vendor permits regarding our ice cream truck that has been appearing in our community. And so I just want to acknowledge that we did receive several. Brittany Preston, Anna Reed, Jane, I think it was Jack Lane, it says here. I think it's Jane, isn't it? Jane Lack, Janine Edmond, Joanne Dungy, and also a Bob Charlton also sent in a comment in regards to the mobile vendor licensing. So we will be discussing that, as we do have a deputation coming up in the meeting, and council does appreciate your input in public participation. And so we, council has all received these and had them both pop up on their email, as well as they've reviewed them as part of the council agenda. And so we do appreciate your input on that. So I will not be able to give you any direct answers at this time in regards to that, as we're about to have a discussion with the ice cream truck person who has a request in front of us. But your input is very much appreciated. So thank you for that, members of the public. There was also item 4.6, Mr. Dave Witzke. He brought in a concern regarding the condition of a building over at our Public Works storage facility. I guess it is a building technically, but it's more of a storage shed, storage building that's it's been there for some 20, perhaps upwards of 25 years, and served the purpose of covering up our sand and so on over at the Public Works building here in just outside of Stayner in Clearview. It does serve the entire township of Clearview from that location, but it is located just outside of Stayner. So Mr. Witzke's concern is regards to the condition of the building. And I can advise Mr. Witzke and the public that staff are actually proposing a new building or some type of reconstruction on that site as part of the budget in 2022. So council was not aware of that until this came up, but I do appreciate that the staff are looking at the condition of some of our, public works structures and buildings that we have. So they're looking at that, and that'll be certainly something that this council can discuss in the budget process that'll be coming later on in the year in regards to 2022. So thank you, Mr. Witzke, for bringing that forward. And I'm also aware that the staff are are also very aware of the condition of the building and that the tarp structure does take a little bit of wind damage, doesn't it? That's what happens with tarps. So anyway, okay, so that was a good point. Thank you for that, Mr. Whiskey. And so I'd also like to remind the public to always use the public participation portal that's available on clearview.ca. Just for information, I tested it today just to make sure it was working, and it worked perfectly fine for both the computer and from my iPhone. It's quite simple to fill out the information and send in your message. As soon as you send it, all members of council receive it, as well as members of our clerk staff who receive these messages and then populate them into our agendas for our council meeting. So please use the tool online at clearview.ca. It's one of the best ways to use the public participation portal. And as always, members of council always receive emails at council@clearview.ca. That's the best way to email all members of council, council@clearview.ca. All right, so thank you very much. That's public participation. And perhaps one day when we're actually meeting back in the council chambers again, we'll have public participation in an in-person nature. That would be wonderful. Okay, item 5 is deputations and presentations. So item 5.1 is Mohammed Gandrahari. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. He is the owner-operator of Hola Ice Cream, and he's requested to have an audience with us. I believe Mr. Gandrahari is online on a telephone. Can I just confirm that through the clerk's office that he is here? I do not see him coming up on my screen, so can someone from clerk's advise?
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Gandhari has just been promoted into the meeting. He is showing up. If I could just ask him to unmute himself, and there he is.
Okay.
Hello, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, Mohammed. It's Doug Measures. I'm the mayor of Clearview. Nice to have you join us on the meeting here. I see you're on my telephone, so thank you for joining us. And council is all here listening for your presentation. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you. You can go ahead, and then perhaps you'll be available for some questions. Is that okay?
Sure, yes.
All right, go right ahead, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Councillor. My name is Mohammed Gandahari, and I have an ice cream truck, and I do have a license for my ice cream truck in the town of Wasaga Beach. While I was working and operating my ice cream truck there, and a lot of people from town of Stayner, they approached me, they asked me to come and serve ice cream to their neighborhood, especially to the children. And I was invited by them. I came by a few times, and they liked the people of Stayner. They support me. They liked the ice cream, and especially the kids. So they were so happy. And I decided to apply for a license. And the license fee was so expensive for me. It was almost $1,000, and I couldn't afford to pay it. And one of the bylaw officers said, well, you know, you can pay like $50 each time, but it still is too much for me. But most municipalities, they charge like, for example, I have a license from Alliston. They charge me $130, Wasaga Beach approximately $250. And all I'm asking, I like to bring good memory to the children of Stayner and the family, and a joyful moment for them to serve them ice cream. And I like the council if they allow me to, if they could reduce my permit fee to like $150, so I can afford and I can come again to serve the family. And every Sunday, the people from Stayner, they text me, what time you're going to come, when you're going to come. I told them last week, sorry, I cannot come anymore because the permit fee is too expensive for me. And if I come each time, I have to pay $50. And I don't make that much money to pay that. All I'm asking, if you could kindly help me to reduce the permit fee so I can come and provide the service to the children and family and bring them joyful moments.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Gandahari, for your presentation and for your request. Before we open up to the floor, I just want to remind members of council that we do have a vendor's bylaw, vendor's permit bylaw, and it's been in place for many, many years. And I know that our bylaw enforcement officers have been dealing with that, as well as many other bylaws that they're tasked with enforcing across the municipality. So that is one of the many bylaws that our bylaw enforcement team do have to enforce across the whole township. All right, so perhaps Mohammed, members of council are with us here. Maybe they could, if there are any questions from members of council, I could ask them for their turn to speak to you. So what we'll do, Mohammed, is we'll let them speak and then I'll address the question to you. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Just because we're on a Zoom meeting and it is a council meeting, so just want to make sure you understand how we're working there. All right, members of council, do you have any questions to Mr. Gandahari? Okay, I recognize Councillor Walker. Go ahead, Robert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Since that we seem to have some discrepancies with regards to neighboring municipalities with their licensing fees, I would like to put a motion forward to ask staff to review the fee structure on the vendor's permits, compare with our local municipalities, and report back to council. That way, then we can look at our fee structure to see if we need to revamp it to a seasonal rate. Are our rates too high? And this way, then we have a fair view of a decision before we make a decision on the request.
Hey, Councillor Walker. I just asked for, before I even asked for a seconder, I asked if you could make that slight amendment in that, and the wording should be our neighboring municipalities, not our local municipality. We are the local municipality, Clearview. So
Yes,
let's go with our neighboring municipality. Okay, and I'll look for a seconder. Deputy Mayor Burton, are you a seconder on this?
I second that motion.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor. So we'll have a little debate here. Members of council, if I may, I'd like to go to Mr. Gandahari for a moment. In his letter he wrote to us, he indicated, and in his presentation, that the rates are a little bit different in our neighboring municipalities. And perhaps from your experience, Mr. Gandahari, can you outline for us what fee structure you see as an internment vendor, someone who is a vendor who's not a regular resident of that community? What kind of fee structure are you seeing for the work that you do?
Well, you know, I've been driving my ice cream truck for such a long time, and I go different places, different city each day. Each city they invite me to go for a birthday party and celebration, and I go and I serve the ice cream to them. And as you know, the ice cream season is very short, and I cannot come to the Stainer every day because nobody's gonna eat ice cream every day. I have to come once a week. And that once a week is, you know, let's say each time when I come, I'm going to make $200. The $200, for example, is when I sell. So it's going to, with my gas, my food costs, my time, I don't make that money to pay extra fee for the permit.
So what I was asking Mr. Gandahari before I go to members of council is, do you see a discrepancy in the fee structure from one community to the next? You know, is it significant between municipalities?
You mean the different price?
Yes.
Yes, for example, in town of Alliston, they charge $130. In Barrie, they charge around $230 something. Town of Barrie. I have a license from town of Barrie too. And in Wasaga, they charge approximately, Wasaga Beach with big population, compared to a Stainer, they charge, for example, $280 approximately. And Stainer, compared to, I'm not sure about the population, but I would say maybe a couple thousand people. And the permit fee is very high, for especially seasonal, you know. We start from May and then finish September. And we cannot, nobody basically likes ice cream during the fall. They want a coffee than ice cream. And I think for the ice cream, it's kind of, you know, expensive. You know, I don't make that money because I don't work there every day, and you know, people they're not buying ice cream every day.
I appreciate it. I was just hoping to get an answer from you about the various communities, and so you did answer that. I just want to, for clarity, Mr. Gundahari, I want to clarify. It is not the town of Stayner that you're dealing with. You're dealing with the township of Clearview, and so we have many little communities that make up the beautiful township of Clearview. So while you may have been visiting Stayner only, our licensing fees are based on the entire community of Clearview Township, and so I would encourage you to perhaps go and explore some of those other towns, because gosh knows, maybe there'll be ice cream people interested in that in other areas than just in Stayner. So now, Mr. Gundahari, if you just want to stand by for a minute, maybe members of council have any questions on the motion that's been put forward. Is there anybody with a question on the motion? Mr. McKechnie, go ahead, Councillor McKechnie.
Thank you, Your Worship, and yes, I agree with you. Yes, we're a township of 14,000 people. Stayner itself is 4,200 people according to the population, and but there's 14,000 people in all of Clearview, which is going to be we take the license not accessible. Anyway, I would support Robert's motion. I think that we need to have staff. Review the fees, those kinds of work together with other companies. I have a concern. We already have a couple of ice cream places in Stayner. We've got the Dairy Queen, and we've got David Rock ice cream. I don't want to see milk cans from, because they are here. You have to remember, they're here 12 months a year, 52 months a year, and they've been here through good times and bad. Through the pandemic, and now we have this gentleman, and I fully support him coming in and doing business here, but he's coming in and basically cherry picking the time. He's coming in the summer when people want to eat ice cream. He's not here in December. He's not here in January or February, whereas Dairy Queen and Beaver Rock ice cream are. So we have to make sure that we support the current businesses. We don't put them at a disadvantage by having someone come in and giving that person a discount on their fees. So if staff come back to us and after having done their review with a recommendation that yes, we do the discount, I'm all for that. So I support Councillor Walker's motion that we ask staff to do a review on the fees, and I think that's the appropriate way to proceed today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor McKechnie. Just to be advised, you've got to be still with your computer. You broke up a little bit at the beginning of that discussion, but I think we got the gist of your message. Thank you.
Maybe the seat I'm sitting in here. So.
Yeah, perhaps it is. There you go. Councillor Lamers, I see you've got your card up. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I agree with Robert with getting staff to check out. And we are a township of Clearview, so Stayner already has a couple ice cream parlors. I'm not sure if Creemore has one. New Lowell doesn't have one, so we're talking all of Clearview, not just Stayner. I hope he wants to make his rounds around the whole township.
That's kind of what my message was there at the end of my comment to Mr. Gundahari. So thank you, John, for that, and I appreciate that. All right, is there any other members of council with any comments? Madam Clerk is here. Yes, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I just want to make it clear to council with the motion on the floor, the way that it is, that Mr. Gundahari, if there isn't a reduction in fees chosen by council tonight, then staff will have to apply the vending permit bylaw the way that it is right now and charge the fees to Mr. Gundahari as outlined in our fees and charges bylaw.
That's fair. Thank you. That's a fair statement. I see Councillor Patterson. Hello, Tom. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just in the review of our license fees, I want to make sure that we do notify the chamber and the BIA in Stayner and Creemore. It would be nice if we could find a way of notifying the any of the other businesses that might be in the same business serving ice cream. Make sure that they're consulted with as well in the review. I know that certainly I can speak fairly clearly on the review that the Creemore BIA did a few years ago. In fact, you'll see on the application form that the BIA is noted there for consultation And that's because they spent a significant amount of time as a business association trying to decide whether or not there was enough business annually and seasonally to permit vendors coming in. And there was a compromise there, and from that came our vendors policy and also our pricing. So they definitely have an interest in this, and I'm hoping that our staff will consult with them. And I would say the same thing without any direct authority or knowledge that would apply to the chamber as well. Just professional.
Thank you. Yeah, very reasonable. Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Any other members? So I do have a quick question, if I may, as a procedural thing for our CAO and perhaps our clerk. Sasha, there you are. Mr. CAO, Madam Clerk, would you be able to give us some advice for what timeline we may see that council may receive this information of review, that they can review it once again? Would you give us an idea where, looks like Sasha wants to go ahead of you, John. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, I can defer to the CAO. He kind of trumps me in this situation, so I can defer to him first.
I don't have a request to speak card. I'd like to.
Okay.
We'll try to get the turnaround fairly soon. We understand that Mr. If I get the name correct, Mr. Gandahar will probably want to hear back from us fairly soon. So we'll try to get that back as soon as possible. Because it is the summer season. If we wait till the end of August or towards the end of August, it might take a little bit of time. So we'll try to get that back as soon as we can. We do have some special meetings that we're going to have. Maybe we'll attach it to one of those special meetings.
That's good advice. Thank you, Mr. CAO. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Yes, our next regular scheduled meeting is August 23rd, but as the CEO suggested there, we might be able to have the opportunity to provide this at a special meeting of council. But as Councillor Patterson said, engagement with the Chamber of Commerce and the BIA is important as well. So that might just push out our timelines a little bit, as I understand some members could be on vacation, and we want to ensure that they're able to discuss this at a meeting.
All right. As always, Mr. CAO, I'd expect the staff to do their best to expedite this project and but bring it as a thorough report. So, all right. So that's the housekeeping. So if there's nothing further from the members of council, I will prepare to call the motion if everybody's here. Yep. All right. So, Ms. Clerk, would you just read it again for us, what you've got, so that we don't have a mistake?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council. The motion on the floor, it's been moved by Councillor Walker, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burton. The council directs staff to review the fees for vendor permits in relation to neighboring municipalities and bring a report back to council.
Members of council, any questions? Seeing none, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. So thank you very much. So Mr. Gandahari, this process then will allow our staff to prepare a report, which then council can consider on how we can assist you with your request. So in the meantime, I encourage you to continue to work with our Clerks Department and our Bylaw Department in order to effectively deliver your services to our community. Does that sound fair enough?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. And I will follow your instruction, and I will continue work with the bylaw officer.
Appreciate that, Mr. Gandahari. Thank you very much. And as you heard from members of council, please explore our beautiful township. We have a lot of great neighborhoods. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. God bless.
All right. Thank you, sir, and thank you for joining us. Members of council, now we have deputation number 5.2 on our agenda. Joe Mesmer, I don't see him on my list here. Is there someone joining us there, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, Joe from DocuPet is to be joining us. He's just being brought in from the waiting room right now.
Okay, good stuff. Here he is. Hello, Joe.
Good evening.
Oh, you got a great sounding audio there. That's good. I tell you what, I'd like to bring the attention of our IT department to listen to how Joe sounds tonight, and maybe we can all invest in some of that. Hello, Joe.
Forward over the link. Hello.
Nice to meet you. I understand you got a presentation you'd like to present to us tonight.
Yes, very nice to meet you. So I am Joe Messmer. I'm the manager of partnership development here at DocuPet. We are, of course, a full-service pet licensing services provider, or for municipalities like the township of Clearview, of course. I just wanted to, of course, send a quick thank you for the opportunity to participate through this web format. I echo the thoughts from the beginning, where we certainly look forward to the day where we can safely meet again in person and to connect face to face, certainly as we prefer to do whenever possible. And also a quick thank you to the staff who have been going through a discovery process on our services, really taking the time to get to know DocuPet and the inner workings of what we do here. So thank you to those staff, and of course, thank you to council in general. Now, just to provide a quick introduction of DocuPet, it's actually best for me to not talk, which I have submitted a video there to be presented to you folks. It's just about 2.5 minutes. So I think I will cue that video to be started here, and I will have a few comments to provide after that.
Fair enough. I'm going to mute my mic and we'll let it go.
There's good reason why more than 90% of municipalities in North America require that pets be licensed. We know that licensed pets are much more likely to get home if they're found lost. We know that the monies raised by licensing fees help fund really important animal initiatives and animal control measures in local communities. When we learned that up to 60% of shelter funding comes from licensed sales, but that just 13% of pet owners comply with mandatory licensing laws, DocuPet found its mission. Since 2014, DocuPet has partnered with local shelters and communities. We provide full service management of their pet licensing programs to increase pet license sales, decrease workload, and ensure that more lost pets get home quickly and at no cost. We've taken the time to really understand why residents fail to license their pets. And so we've developed a program that's as valuable to pet owners as it is to the communities that we serve. We've made licensing really easy. Using our modern web system, pet owners can register from any device. They can add photos, care instructions, and contact information to secure online profiles.
We created an experience that puts pets first, and when it comes to our tags, the same thing is true. Instead of boring stamped aluminum, we created a designer line of tags that are fun, colorful, and represent so many different interests so that every pet owner can find something they actually want their pets to wear. Our tags are more than just pretty though. Every DocuPet tag is tied to our free Home Safe Lost Pet service. If a pet gets away, anyone who finds the pet can look up their unique DocuPet code or call our 24/7 hotline, and our team here will work together to make a happy reunion happen.
Each tag can be etched with the pet's name and phone number, increasing the likelihood of the tag being placed on the pet, reducing the need for multiple tags, and giving us a much more fun way to promote licensing. We think that receiving something for your pet should be fun, and it shouldn't feel like getting a tax bill. So we package each tag with personalized inserts, information about our program, and most importantly, about the work that license fees support locally. With DocuPet, our partners have real-time access to data and reporting, so they can get all the information they need, and we coordinate all implementation steps and training when launching new programs. We build awareness of the importance of pet licensing with community events, marketing campaigns, and community canvassing programs.
The level of knowledge from everybody at DocuPet has been very impressive. Tag options, I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to be fun and really neat for pet owners. I think that's something we can get the school kids involved in. I think it's just a completely new approach to pet licensing.
DocuPet has already found that several families and dogs have been reunited because of that home safe function.
We aim to bridge the gap between the 13% of people who license their pets and the 100% of people that we think should. We're rapidly expanding across North America, adding an average of 1 program every 2 weeks. At DocuPet, we come to work each day to make pet licensing a joy for pet owners, a breeze for administrators, and a significant funding source for animal welfare providers. We believe that by redefining and modernizing pet licensing, we can help provide a safe and happy home for every pet.
And just to provide some quick background information that may be of interest to folks here. So as mentioned in the video, DocuPet started in 2014, actually as an organization in Kingston, Ontario. And since then, we've now expanded to North America wide. We have about 60 municipal partners right now, municipal or shelter partners across North America, including almost half of those in Ontario. Closest partners to you folks would be Wasaga Beach, Springwater, New Tecumseth, Georgina, not too far from you folks in Wellington North, all current partners of us here at DocuPet. So just the kind of quick rundown as a social enterprise, a double focus, one to provide, rethinking of what a pet license could be for pet owners. So a pet owner focus that really emphasizes the importance of a license, the revenue associated with that license and its impact on local animal care and control, the services that the township and the township's partners provide for animal services in the community. And then for your staff as administrators, providing an online system, digital access to all of your licensing data, licensing records, easier revenue collection, reporting, data, access to data in the field, et cetera, some administrative tools that make administering your pet licensing program even easier. So pet owner, administrator focus, and as a social enterprise, doing everything really with that animal care and control focus first and foremost. And so happy to take some questions with the support of staff, provide any other information that folks may have an interest in. I believe we have a slide deck as well that is submitted just as information should anyone on council like it, or would be presented as well if anyone chooses, but happy to take some questions or provide more detail.
Great, thank you very much, Joe. It was very enlightening and very interesting video. As a personal note, it was great to see a Dalmatian in there. I grew up with Dalmatians, just saying. I don't have one today, but my family certainly had a lot of them. Well, I tell you. So anyway, thank you very much for that presentation. Members of council, do you have any questions to Joe and or our staff who are on here with us? Yes, Mr. Patterson and then Mr. McKechnie. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, very interesting. Just to our staff, given that you've been working with Joe, give us a sense, well, more detail when it comes back, but presumably, what a sense on the impact on our administration, the time and effort, and impact on the price of the licensing to our residents.
Well, first of all, we'll go to Sasha for that, and then to Joe. I see Joe Paddock, our Senior Bylaw Enforcement Officer, has joined us. Sasha, do you have any comment to help Councillor Patterson with that question?
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Yes, I see that Mr. Paddock's online, so I'll let Mr. Paddock answer Councillor Patterson's question.
There you go. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how's it going today?
Great stuff. Great to see you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. So currently the township, the bylaw department manages all the aspects of the canine bylaw in the dog tag licensing. Our front office staff are definitely weighted down with accepting licenses and processing payments the first few months of the year. Since there is currently a grace period, January, February, March, the majority of our dog tags do come in during that time. If we were to go to DocuPet, they handle all of the dog license registrations unless they do come to the counter, but we will be encouraging people to purchase the dog tags online.
Okay, Tom? Sorry, Sasha, did you want to jump in with that? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Measures, through you to Councillor Patterson. And just to touch on what Joe had specified there, we're also looking to move to a 365-day model, which is something that we can only do if we have online services. Currently, we do a calendar year because that's administratively what township staff is able to do. So moving to a 365 model kind of brings down that 3-month period where front counter staff, so mainly finance staff, are inundated with doing dog tag registrations, burn permits, taxes. So we're looking to alleviate that administration function on staff. And there's no proposed increase in the dog fees. We're keeping them the same. The only increase that we're proposing with this, as you will see in an additional report on tonight's council agenda, is just the fee for a replacement tag. Currently, it's at $2.50. We're just looking for a replacement fee to go to $7.50.
Councillor Patterson, anything further?
No, it's fine. Thank you for the answers.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor McKechnie, I saw your card, and then I'm looking for anybody else.
Thank you, Your Worship. For Mr. Mesmer there, the other communities that have signed up for this, I think you said in your presentation that about 13% of pets are actually licensed in the community. So after signing up for this, for DocuPet, what sort of increase have the other communities gone to? How many extra licenses? What percentage?
Yeah, so prior to 2020 calendar year, we've actually seen good success. So across average, sales compliance, so that rate that you're talking about was up on average across all of our partners, 57%. In 2020, I think, down for some obvious reasons, of course, but still up 20% on average across the board, across all of our municipal partners. So that's, to say, some communities, the kind of, as the clerk was alluding to, being able to move more online, focus less on in-person sales, enable more kind of convenient transactions that folks can do from their phone or from the comfort of their own couch, allows quicker increases to compliance. The more convenient the solution is, the more folks tend to license. So when we have a community that works well with us to encourage folks to do these items, we tend to see better compliance increases. But across the board, prior to 2020, we were about 57% on average increases, and in 2020 it was about 20% across the board. In 2020, obviously financial aspects and were impacted for a lot of folks, but most communities, in fact, all of our Ontario communities, actually opted to not send reminder notifications. We didn't feel it was wise to ask folks to need to pay, considering the financial aspects that so many people were facing. So those reminder communications were turned off, which likely accounts for just that 20% increase as opposed to the 50. But those are all now back on. Every program is functioning as per normal. So we expect typically in that neighborhood, close to that on average year over year.
Go back to you, Councillor McKechnie. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. And and I'm looking, it's about a $5,000 startup fee. And then what about annually after that? What are we looking at for costs?
So the nice thing about the way we do our fees as well is that they're based on the work that we actually render at the direction of the municipality. So the only other fees that we have other than that startup cost is to have our staff physically fulfill a letter and to have our staff work with data handling. So to process an order over the phone or to process an application through the mail, a license application through the mail. We only charge a small rate per those activities happening. So for every mailed-in application, for example, that we receive, be about a $2.50 per transaction fee. So the nice part about that is that your costs, are anticipated to be well below, the number of licenses that you're selling year over year. And those costs, again, only come out when the municipality directs us to fulfill those letters or to take care of those sales. Those are things that the municipality could choose to keep, but understanding the administrative burden, the pressures that we would like to relieve on that front are likely things that we would be doing for the municipality.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship. Yeah, that looks reasonable to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I see the clerk would like to jump in. Go ahead there, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Measures, through you to Councillor McKechnie and the rest of Council. It's important to note that by streamlining to a 365-day model and streamlining our actual license fees, that we do qualify for a fee waiver for that startup fee of the $5,000. So that's why we've been changing our canine control bylaw in the background and working with DocuPet to make those amendments so we don't have to pay that startup fee.
Thank you. That's good information to know as well. Members of council, anybody else with any further questions to Joe or our staff about this project? Yes, back to you, Councillor Patterson. Go ahead.
Yeah, since we have Joe here, so there's no misunderstanding. When you said the 13% take up the licensing compliance, that's for our neighboring municipalities?
We have some research that we've collected based on surveying of pet licensing organizations done in 2018 and 2019, that across North America, there's three averages to think of when it comes to compliance. average compliance for municipalities that only license dogs was at 23%. Compliance for communities that license cats was 7% licensing compliance for just cats. The combined licensing compliance of both dogs and cats was 13%. So that's a North American average. We can, we have some calculations that we can use to help assess compliance currently in the township and surrounding communities based on some pet ownership statistics from the Department of Health that help us estimate how many dogs are in the community, which of course you can then compare against the number of active licenses that you have. But that 13% is combined compliance North America wide for dogs and cats. Communities that just license dogs, average compliance is about 23%.
So if I may, so if when we come back to discuss it in more detail, if I would appreciate if we would take at least an estimate, a good working estimate of where we sit. If not, then a methodology by which we can complete that assessment. I had one other question. When you said the compliance went up 57%, that's 50%, 7%, in this case of 13%. So if we were in the 13% range, we would be, early adoption of this program would be somewhere around, after the first year, 20%. So if those numbers are roughly correct, do you also have a program, it sounds like you do, to promote higher compliance? And is it just marketing, or are there other tools that we would use, other licensing fees or other contracted services?
Yeah, a lot of it is marketing and communication. The nice thing about an optional service that we provide being our ability to choose a designer tag, we call them, basically a more fun, creative tag, something similar to what you might pick out at a local pet store, something that you can actually personalize to your pet that is still fully compliant, has access to that digital record that helps animal control in the field access their licensing information, by law enforcement in the field being able to have that licensing record, but still as a pet owner be able to shop for something and choose a more engaging product. That those are actually, we can do all sorts of incentives around those to encourage folks to, for example, refer a neighbor or refer a family member. Get your license today and you'll get a 50% off a fun designer tag or a free designer tag, things of that nature. So through community marketing, social media, and traditional media as well, incentivizing through designer tags, and our lost pet service, the Home Safe program, which is provided free to every licensee, is far and away most often reported as the number one reason folks choose to use DocuPet and make sure they have an account and a profile through DocuPet. It's a free lost pet service, so if your pet gets lost, you can report it lost. It's a 24/7 hotline, meaning if someone finds your pet, they'll always have a live person to call, even at 2 a.m. in the morning, to provide those details, and someone can follow up with you directly on that same kind of instant time period. So certainly through the services we render, through the change to 365, for example, that the clerk focused on, there's a number of ways to kind of encourage higher compliance rates. And as far as calculating your current compliance, I'd be happy to share the algorithm, the calculations that we use with staff, so you can have a sense of where you're at currently there in the township.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other members of council? All right. Oh, hello, Councillor Janine. Phyllis, go right ahead.
I'm just, I'm wondering about the information, the personal information retention. Is the security done through the township, or is that held by through DocuPet? Like, there's a lot of personal information there. I'm just wondering how that's secured and kept.
Yeah, great question. So
one of my questions too. I've got some questions on that point as
Yeah, great question. So the DocuPet service and solution is a cloud-based solution. That being said, the servers that we use for our Canadian partners are all based in Canada, and the platform is actually supported by Amazon Web Services, which not only as a benefit means your data is quickly accessible and nice to use, but it's also very secure and it meets pretty much the most stringent of data compliance and security reviews as far as that is concerned. With regards to the data itself and ownership of the data itself, our services agreement is clear to say licensing data that is already yours and through a partnership with DocuPet remains the property of the township. So if the agreement with DocuPet were to end or cease for any reason at any time, the data is exported back to the township for control by the township. So DocuPet does not use that data at the end of any agreement. Currently, throughout the partnership with DocuPet, we don't use that data in any other way, either through any third parties or other platforms. We don't sell that data to anyone else. So before or after an agreement. So that is the township's licensing data, that personal information. As far as security, Amazon Web Services meets, as I said, pretty much the most stringent of reviews.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor Deneen, you're good? All right, if I can follow up on the security, thank you. If I can follow up on the security question, in the presentation video, Joe, it did mention that a person can access a portal where they can they find a dog with a tag, they can look it up. That's part of a security breach that I would question. So is there a third party that governs that, or is that very open to the public? If they found a dog with a tag, they could look it up and they would know that the dog belongs to Councillor Walker down the street. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, great clarification to make. So first is important to think of two different types of people who would be accessing that record, in the public. First would be the easy one of, enforcement services or an administrator for the municipality. As an administrator, they're going to have access to your data. So they'll be able to pull things like license history, document history, any other notes or photos that have been provided associated with that licensing record. So administrators are going to have access. The second of that, of course, is a member of the public. So the default option for any information related to the online profile for a pet, the default option is to have no pet owner or pet record information displayed on that profile. So that is to say, if I find a pet, I access that unique code to go online to view that pet's profile. What I'm actually seeing is a gateway to our lost pet service, the Home Safe Lost Pet Service. There's an opportunity for me to fill out a form to say, I have this kind of pet, it's in this status, I'm at this location, I can hold on to it, I can't hold on to it, and then submit that report online while also being directed to call that 24/7 hotline. So for the member of the public, for the default status is not to see any personal information and not to, things like address or contact email, phone number, etc. That's the default. The pet owner can actively choose to provide some of their information to be made public should their pet be reported lost. So the alternative would be if and only if the pet owner decides to choose to make their phone number or email address public when that lost pet report is created, when that flag has been turned on for that pet by a member of the public. If and only if the pet owner has made that information public, they would then be shown, for example, their email or their phone number to be able to reach out to the pet owner directly. Otherwise, the Home Safe Service, which is a DocuPet team, that is all contained through DocuPet, so that information stays within DocuPet and is not given to the pet finder in this case, and we circle back with the pet owner directly on the finder's behalf.
Thank you. That helps clarify that for me. Any other members of council with any other questions? All right, I'm going to ask a corporate question, if I may. I'm interested in the level of corporate communications that you would be doing if we entered into this agreement, on how you would represent the Township of Clearview on the documents that you send out to people. I'm just looking both at our staff and at you to make sure that we work together, that any paperwork or notices or whatever would meet the corporate communication standards of the township, as well that it's that that it respects the sanctity of our organization as a government. So, Joe, can you just outline for me how you work with corporate communication standards?
Yeah, absolutely. We would certainly, in regards to specific standards, would aim to be in full compliance with the standards as referenced. Just as far as general feel and appearance, we aim to do every communication in a co-branded way to make it very clear that for folks locally that this is an official licensing partner of the municipality. Always making sure to include both Clearview branding, township branding, and DocuPet branding, so that it feels very local and very natural for folks. So that they're not too thrown off by maybe the Kingston address for our primary contact information. So and actually part of that startup fee is that we in generally only aim to have a fee for any of our services when there's actually work being rendered, when we have a cost center of our own. So part of that startup fee helps cover a significant amount of personalization and development of our licensing solution to be in compliance with everything as required at the Township of Clearview. So one, that is to build a pet owner portal that's all co-branded, including information on your own bylaws and regulations related to pet licensing, information on local services that are supported by licensing in your community. All of it is done very much in a co-branded voice, and all of our marketing, whether it's a letter that is sent or an email or even social media, we're always very clear to make sure that this is a combined partnership, and these two things are done in conjunction. As far as I originally mentioned, specific standards certainly would be in full compliance with those standards.
Thank you very much. Certainly, we're very aware of the AODA standards when it comes to corporate communications. So that was kind of where I was hoping that we were going there. Excellent. Madam Clerk, go ahead, Sasha.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Through you to the rest of council, just to reiterate what Mr. Mesmer has been saying. I've been through the process at the Township of Springwater, and during the implementation stages, the implementation group through DocuPet, they work with staff, they provide us with template letters, they work with our communication staff regarding our logos, making sure that the communications are AOD compliant, being a PDF or a Word document. So there's tons of collaboration between staff and DocuPet on those documents before anything's ever sent out.
Okay. Well, I'm comfortable with those questions and the review. Is there any other members? Because we can go straight to a motion unless there's any other members who have questions. All right. Joe, just stand by. I appreciate you being there. Members of council, we have moved a report up onto our agenda. So I'll read the motion and then I'll look for a mover and seconder. Members of council, BL 005-2021. It's a DocuPet online dog licensing program. Recommendation, be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report BL 005-2021 DocuPet online dog licensing program dated July 26, 2021. And item 2, that a bylaw authorizing the pet licensing services agreement with DocuPet Inc. be presented for consideration at the July 26, 2021 regular meeting of council. Can I have a mover and seconder on this motion? Mr. Broderick, Deputy Mayor. Mr. Broderick, Deputy Mayor. I just want to point out one further thing before I even ask for discussion. We do not do cat licensing here, Joe. That's not our thing. We're an agricultural community, and cats certainly serve their purpose in the farm. So we don't do cat licensing here. Just saying. All right. That's great. Members of council, is there any questions on the recommendation? Good. We've had a good discussion. Members of council, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you very much, council. And so thank you, Joe, for this. I look forward to establishing this relationship, and we'll look forward to providing a service level to our residents that will assist them at this great thing of looking after our pets.
Yeah, thank you all. We look forward to getting to work.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Thank you to our members of staff who have presented this report as well. All right, Joe, you can take off if you need to. Otherwise, you can hang around and watch this amazing meeting tonight.
All the best.
All the best. Thank you, sir. All right, members of council, we have item number 6 on our agenda, which is a public meeting. We do not have a public meeting tonight. So item number 7 is approval of the minutes of our council meeting. Recommendation be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the minutes of the July 12th, 2021 council meeting as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder on the minutes? Mr. Walker, Mr. Lamers. Councillor Walker, Councillor Lamers. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Minutes approved. Item 8, business arising from the minutes, if any. Any members of council with any business arising from the minutes? Don't see any. Thank you. We'll move on to communications from the mayor. Members of council, I have one item, and that is the closed session report. It's in regards to board appointments. Council, I've got a bylaw to read later on in the meeting. Council met in camera to discuss amending our bylaw number 19-06, which has to do with several of our boards. So, council, I want to acknowledge that Janine McNabb and Deborah Hill and Andrew Bronny are going to be joining us as volunteers on some various boards. And we have a discussion regarding, as been noted in the earlier in the meeting, Councillor McKechnie and Councillor Broderick in regards to the BIA council representative. So that's the discussion point we're going to be discussing. That came out of our in-camera. And it is the bylaw. It's bylaw number 21-73, of which will be presented a little later on in the agenda. So I wanted to just acknowledge those volunteers that are joining us. All right, members of council, I have nothing further to report from communications from the mayor on behalf of the municipality. Although when we do go around the table, I got something to talk about just as a community thing. So we are actually at county reports at this time. So I'd like to move to our links report regarding our service launch of route number 6 and look to the deputy mayor. Have you got any comments in regards to county reports, deputy mayor?
Yes, thank you, your worship. I'll keep it short and sweet. The county has now initiated their Route 6, which is the final route they have in the master plan for public transportation. It's the route that will go from Midland to Aurelia, basically going across and having stops in Victoria Harbor, Wabashine, etc., on its way to Aurelia. So county's quite excited about that in moving forward, and this will be like the final step in the plan that we have, and I'm sure it'll expand later. And the other thing I'd like to add is that county did raise the pride flag today as well at the county building. Thank you.
Thank you, deputy mayor. Yes, we did that as well here at the township and tweeted it out on our Twitter account. So thank you for that. All right, I have nothing further other than to acknowledge that sort of a county issue. We are working with our neighboring municipalities, Collingwood and Wasaga Beach, through our Deputy Director of Public Works, Mr. Perot. He's working on the data to get the bus transit services all linked together between the various municipalities here, so that our bus services will all be linked together with the same card. So currently people have to update their cards. I know that Dan and the other public works directors in our various neighboring municipalities are working together on that. And that also should include the linked service through the county. So it's kind of connected to the discussion about the transit services. So I just wanted to bring that up, and hopefully that information will be coming forward in a report that will actually appear in many councils, around the area as we try to improve our transit services around our communities. So nothing further from county reports. So we'll go to our ward reports, and item number 11.1 is our ward reports. Okay, council, I'm going to start with Councillor Deneen, and then we'll go to Walker and then Broderick. Hello, Phyllis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to keep anybody tonight other than fielding questions about our ward review that was passed last week or 2 weeks ago. That's about the only thing that's been going on that I've had any question about, and I have no other input than that. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Phyllis. I'm going to go to Councillor Walker next, Broderick, and then Leishman. Hello, Robert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just 2 or 3 things, not really any meetings. Just been involved with inquiries with regards to the green bins from the county, as you well know, Huron Meadows, in discussion with a few residents on Ontario Street with regards to the trees, and I've talked to Dan, and Dan has got that looked after. And of course, I've had a few calls with regards to the ice cream truck scenario. The other thing is, I just want to say that I was up around through the community gardens, and on Thursday purchased lettuce and other products from the youth center. So it's great to see the community gardening doing as well as it's doing. It's awesome, and the people can get out and support it Thursday nights. Please do so. It helps the youth center, but it also it reaps the rewards of the hard efforts of those volunteers up there at the garden that are making things happen.
Thank you very much. I agree. And that, of course, reminds people to go to our farmers market on Thursday nights in Stainer and farmers market in Creemore on Saturday. So good job. Councillor Broderick is next, then Councillor Leishman, then Councillor McKechnie. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a short one for me. I attended the Simcoe Pride flag raising today with Mayor and Councillor McKechnie, Chief Payment, and staff. And members of Simcoe Pride. That is it for me.
Hey, thank you, John. Nice to see you tonight. Councillor Leishman's next, then Councillor McKechnie, and then Lamers. Go ahead, Connie.
Oh, thank you. I have had just about one meeting. I guess it was the chamber meeting, but they're really busy people. I hope you've noticed our flowers and the little signs in the flowers on the main street. They're lovely, and our banners. The main street of Creemore and Stainer are looking really good this year, and I'd really like to thank our volunteers for doing that. It's really lovely. Clearview Chamber is making maps, and they're doing two maps. One is of the eateries in Clearview, and the other are parking spots. So if you are going to a certain spot and you don't know where to park, look at your map, you'll find it. It'll be coming out soon. They're not quite finished, but it's coming. And the business awards are September 12th. It'll be done by video. And there's also a silent auction, and take a look at it because there's some pretty good items this year. Also, our committee, our subcommittee to end homelessness has put a survey up on the Clearview website. And if you want to look at it, clearview.ca at the, I think it's called View All the News, you'll find it halfway down. Even if you haven't experienced homelessness, it would be great to have a few people just do the survey, just so I feel like we did something. This is the result of all the interviews we did with the committees and different associations that help with people that are dealing with homelessness. So this is the next step. And one day I'll report back to you. Phyllis and I will report something, won't we, Phyllis? So we know that we haven't been doing this in vain. Other than that, been to both markets, and yeah, we spend a lot of money at the markets, but it's worth it because, man, the bread and everything else is so good. Anyway, and Robert's right. Go and get some veggies. They're great. Anyway, have a great week, everyone.
Thank you very much. I go get the sticky buns sometimes. That's what I get. Councillor McKechnie, you're next, then Lamers, then Patterson. Hello, Doug.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, I was honored today to go and assist with the Pride flag racing at the Emergency Hub, and it's a good day. It was fairly busy in Ward 2. I think the most, you know, I don't know, the interesting meeting that we had was Mayor Measures, when you met myself and Councillor Patterson came along as well with the, we met up with the Dunedin community regarding the trail through the park there. As council will maybe recall, the staff were able to get some funding from the county, and the township matched it, and we're putting we were to put in a trail in the Dunedin Park and one in Gowan Park in Creemore. And as it turned out, the Dunedin community, they're not too happy. So the mayor and Councillor Patterson and I went to meet them last Thursday. I think I'm being generous in my description here, but it was a passionate exchange. And the end result was that the community spoke, and they told us that in no uncertain terms that they did not want a trail in the park. So I personally, I think a trail would be a good thing. It'd be a great addition to the park. And I saw it as possibly the first step in adding other improvements to the park. However, the community spoke and we listened, so Dunedin will not be getting a trail in their park. And to staff, I hope that we don't have to return the grant that we received from the county for this project. I hope we can use it in other areas of our township that maybe appreciate what we're trying to do for them in improving their community. Matter of fact, Terry, Mr. Vachon, I sent you an email today. I know that the Duntroon Hall are interested in possibly having a trail through the trees around their dog park. So I don't know if that money's been returned yet or not. I don't know what's happening with it, but that's a possibility. And I look forward to Mr. Vachon getting back to me on that. I just sent him an email a couple of hours ago on that. So that was the most interesting thing that happened in Ward 2. It's a shame. I think they're making a mistake. And but anyway, they're the community. They spoke, so I'm happy to support them in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McKechnie. I'm going to come back to you in a moment, if I may. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Councillor Lamers, you're next, and then Councillor Patterson. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, it's been a fairly slow week. Just had the Brentwood 21st Brentwood Hall Board, 22nd evening, and they're excited to start the reopening processes so we can reopen this fall for some small events. And they're looking forward to hearing Terry's presentation to the ALDA compliance. And then on the 23rd, I got my double vaccination. So we're good to go.
Good for you, sir. Good for you. Thank you for that. And you're right. We're looking forward to the presentations regarding the halls. Councillor Patterson is next, and then the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you. So a couple of meetings. I'm going to highlight some of the calls I've been getting. Continuing to get calls, obviously less than at the when it happened, but the fireworks displays are still rippling through the village. You know, they're not calling me, but when I meet people on the street now face to face, one of the things that comes up in the discussion is what are we going to do about the fireworks on our holidays. So I had prepared a report that I'm going to sit down with the bylaw office to see if we can have some protocol that can be enforced and still allow whoever wants to celebrate in any way they want legally in Canada to do so without inviting the whole neighborhood, some unintentionally. So that's going forward. I also, in that conversation on the street, and this is a lot more than just ones and twos, a lot of interest in the county waste transition, automatic waste, and mostly to do with the actual sizing of the various vessels. And I appreciate the mayor sending out a comment today on the answer from Ms. Bureau, Wilma Bureau, who's managing this. And I know Wilma very well. She's very dedicated, and I'm very glad that she is continuing doing this. Those are the kind of answers that we appreciate in administration, and we understand the system. But I will use them advisedly for those people that are intensely aware of the process. But I think we need a friendlier and a simpler explanation. And I would think that maybe we can spend some time as a council. I don't think I want to put it in a notice motion. Maybe we'll have a phone call with our clerk and see if we can, and the mayor, and see if we can put a messaging, some kind of a messaging together that we understand. Because I think there will be a certain amount of disruption here, and we should recognize it. And notwithstanding the fact that once you've had it for a year or two, you'll get used to it. Well, that's like jumping into freezing cold water. Just get in and eventually you get used to it. And sometimes you don't. So I think there has to be a little bit more public say here. The county has done a lot of work in trying to promote this, but like everything else, as it gets closer and closer, and this is going to happen, people's interests get piqued. So spending a lot of time on that. Appreciated the meeting with Terry and Amanda in both the River Park and in Gowan Park. River Park, for lack of a formal name, is the park at the turn between George and Mary Street. Terry has some good plans coming. We were talking specifically about some of the naming of it, and look forward to addressing that with the public that's interested in it and with council. But we've really dedicated to get that particular naming issue before council raised in the public. Also had a brief discussion with regards to the Gowan Park Trail. Terry may want to say more on that. I'll just simply say that I agreed with Terry and Amanda and their plans, somewhat revised. I did ask for an additional side trail. The trail that's proposed right now is an asphalt trail to the pavilion, which is much needed, and it's a public accessibility issue, and it's also something that is just important to have because of the foot traffic that park is getting. But I also think we should consider putting in a side trail, because our kids don't take the asphalt trail that leads them to the pavilion. They make a beeline to the equipment, the park's equipment, through the cedar trees. I refer to it as the Black Forest. They love that. There's a few tripping hazards there, so I appreciate Terry and Amanda taking that issue up for advisement. So that's that one. And then there is some concern I have still with the junior ball with diamonds. It's a great idea. It's very popular. But it still represents a bit of a fly ball hazard for some of our neighbors. And once again, Terry is going to give that some consideration. And I believe we agreed that probably best meeting with the neighbors on George Street would be a good next step to explain that it's difficult for us to manage this thing now for several reasons that Terry understands very well. And I think that's essentially the news and the business around Greenmore these days and Ward 5.
Thank you very much, Councillor Patterson. I have a question for you. You brought it up. I was not aware that there's a naming issue with Mad River Park. That's
not a naming issue. There's an initiative to name it, and it comes up.
That's completely news to me.
Well, it's news in the form of a ward report, but it's a general discussion that's been going on. And as I said, it's important now for us to, and we've agreed to, Terry, Amanda, and ourselves, we divided up the work and we said, let's get it done. And we need to advise the public and advise council and see what comes out of it. I can expand it a little longer, but this is my ward report. So if you want,
I appreciate the ward report. I appreciate hearing about it.
All right.
But that's the first I've heard that there's any indication.
Interesting.
That you are looking at changing the name. So I look forward to that as a notice of motion or a report of some type, because that I hadn't even heard of.
I think it'll probably, Terry.
I've not heard that from anybody in the public, so that'd be very interesting to hear.
I think Terry will talk. There's probably come in the form of a staff report, and I don't have to initiate it with a notice of motion. I don't think. It's just that we've decided there's some things that can both Terry and Amanda can do, and I can do as the ward councillor, and we've decided how to do that, and we're going to do it as quickly as we can.
Well, that's good. All right, thank you, Councillor Patterson. I'm sure we'll hear more about that.
Well, I see now that I want to make sure that everyone listens to my ward report.
Listening carefully to it. Okay. Deputy Mayor Burton, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be short. I had a meeting with the Station on the Green people, and discussing some of the issues that came up with the Station on the Green and the Village Green issues. Terry was kind enough to send out an email which explained a lot of things and took away a lot of those worries. So that sort of got that looked after. The other thing I would like to report is when I was at the NEC meeting, as of course I'm representing the county at NEC, but the issue about Lavender Farms, especially the one on the 8th line, has been referred back to staff. So there's been no decision made on that. That's been referred back to staff. And I think that's about it. Short and simple.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just clarity there. That's referred back to the Niagara Escarpment staff, not our staff.
Oh, and I would add that the mayor and I are attending a council workshop tomorrow on solid waste management. So we will be attending that workshop.
Yeah, that was on my list, and that's great. I'm glad you mentioned it. That's excellent. Thank you. All right, if I may, I'd like to go back to Councillor McKechnie. Councillor McKechnie, you mentioned something about this trail at Dunedin Park. And so I'm looking for clarity on procedure from our clerk and from Terry Vachon, perhaps, to clarify that council made direction to do this. So if there's change of direction, council will need to give direction. So I'd like to know from the clerk and Terry what the status is there, because I appreciate Councillor McKechnie bringing it up and also stating that they're not going to get it. Well, that's up to council to decide. So I'd like to have some clarity on that, please. So clerk and Terry. I'll go to Terry first.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. So I mean, we, the Simcoe County Connecting Communities Trails Grant, we don't actually receive the money.
Yeah.
It's promised to you, you spend the money and then they reimburse you. So this money obviously has not been spent yet. When we do have an amendment like this, we would go to Simcoe County and ask them their permission to redirect their funding to other trails, if council so chooses. Typically we would come back to council and ask council if there are other trails in consideration. Councilor McKechnie has provided one to me via email. The first thing we need to do, Your Worship, is actually ask Simcoe County if we're allowed to redirect that funding. If they say no, the funding was for Dunedin, and they say no, then it's a moot point. Why ask council to redirect those funds? It doesn't need to be done. So our first step is to ask Simcoe County, which we will very shortly, and we'll come back to council with a report on those outcomes or recommendations to identify other trails to use, to build.
Okay, thank you, Terry. I appreciate that sort of clarity on that. I appreciate that. Madam Clerk, just to be clear then, council passed a resolution some time ago that approved these two projects, and the county of Simcoe then granted them to us. And so if we're not going to be receiving it, is there a motion that needs to be made at this council, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor Weathers. Through you to the rest of council. To reiterate what Terry had said, the first step would be go back to the county of Simcoe. If council did approve it through a motion and the engagement with Dunedin Park or the volunteers in Dunedin was not to move forward, then I'm sure Terry will provide a follow-up report to council to see what avenues we can take regarding that trail. My apologies, as I was not clerk at the time when that motion came through, so my knowledge on the subject's a little fuzzy, so I apologize to council.
That's okay. The entire thing's a little fuzzy, so I want to make it clear, that's all. Deputy Mayor Burton, I saw you flash your card. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to ask Councillor McKechnie and yourself, because what is the reasons for not wanting the trail? I'm just trying to understand why they would not want the trail.
Okay, Councillor McKechnie, and Councillor Patterson was there. We can support you in your response, but given it's certainly in your area and you've paid attention to it, what can you say?
Oh, thanks very much, Barry, for putting me on the spot here. How am I going to put this correctly? Let's just say they want to keep that park as a very local park. They do not want any additions to the park that will have other people from outside of the local area come in and use that park. I think it's wrong, but anyway, I'm choosing my words carefully here. Anyway, that's basically the reason why they do not want to see people from Toronto coming in and using that park and such. So anyway, they don't want any improvements to it that would entice other people to come and use that park. So there you go.
Councillor McKechnie is being very polite. Barry, the councillor is being very polite, but the reality is that they were very passionate about wanting to keep the park as a local park. And I understand their concern, and it was a difficult discussion. As the councillor said, it was very heated, and so I appreciate what they're saying. And the comment was that why are we spending money on a trail when we should be spending money on the gates or on the entrance to it and so on. And then they wanted to know if we were putting any signage up, and they were very objecting to any signage to indicate the park, because if you know that park, it's a very narrow little entranceway, and you kind of have to know it's there to find it. Whereas many of our parks have great signs that direct you to where the park is. So that was part of the discussion too. I can empathize with the neighbors. I do kind of agree with what Councillor McKechnie says, and that it's perhaps a wrong decision, but it is also the will of what the public are looking for in that particular neighborhood of our community of Clearview. So I just want to back the councillor up on those comments. So Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for your response. I just felt it was important for us as council to understand what the issue is, because we're now being asked to reverse a bylaw that has already been passed and possibly return money. So I felt it was important that we understand the reasoning behind it. But thank you for that.
All right, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Tom. Tom would like to speak.
Yeah, I was an interested and invited guest there, and I can appreciate all sides on this. I mentioned earlier in my ward report about the junior diamond, and then the neighbors complaining about the fly balls. Everything that was done with good intentions, and we'd be happy to have it. And it's a very similar case. When we talk about process and reversing bylaws, we sound like, well, we've given the direction, we've done all the thinking, and therefore our decisions, you should think hard before you question what council is doing, because they do it in the public interest. Well, I heard on that night similar things that I've heard about various improvements that we've made around Creemore, Paul Park being one of them, is that for whatever reason, whether they were notified and didn't respond to it, didn't appreciate what the outcome was, there are people that live adjacent to these facilities that we hope that they enjoy, and oftentimes people who don't live in the neighborhood enjoy them as well. But when they're not consulted, then the factor of the unknown gets into this, and I saw that clearly when I was out there. That did all the neighbors know it was coming? Did we make an effort to notify them? And the answers, by the way, to those questions on the second one, yes, it sounds like we made an effort to let them know in Dunedin. But I think we have to be sensitive to the people that don't necessarily plan to use the park in the same way as maybe we want. And if they have real concerns, then I would give them all the time in the world to explain them to us. And I think Doug did a good job doing that. But as you said, both of you, it's a tough decision. Is it in the public interest? That's a question you put to the public.
I just want to qualify some of the statements that are being made here, and then I'll go to the clerk. There was a statement about whether the park would be considered just a local private park. And I made a very clear statement to all the members that were in attendance that there is nothing in this township that we administer that is private. Everything we do is public. Every dollar we spend is public dollars. It's all about public. And so there is no private park. Certainly we have local parks. We have parcels of land that we own, various places, little subdivision things. I can think of one, Councillor Deneen, in Calling Woodlands, a little square parcel of land that we own, and we just don't do anything with it. And yet the neighbors kind of enjoy it to walk their dogs and that kind of thing. You wouldn't even know it's a park, but it's just a little parcel of square grass that gets cut every couple of weeks, and there you go. But these little parcels of land, the neighbors and the neighborhood become very attached to them. And so I can appreciate the passion that was being said to the two councillors and myself that night. And so I just want to qualify that certainly we heard them, but I personally made that comment that there is nothing that we do that's private. It is not a private park by any means. So now, Madam Clerk, I think you put your card up a minute ago and I didn't get to you. Hi, Sasha.
Sorry, I did not put up my card, Mayor Measures, but I might have done it just instinctively because that's what I like to do. Sorry.
All right. So what I would hope then, perhaps we'll get some clarity between the clerk and Terry through the CAO. And if there's an actual report that we need to have council vote on, then we'll bring it forward. After Terry has a communication with the county, you can include that information. Is that a fair statement then, Councillor McKechnie, to bring this resolution forward?
Yes, Your Worship, I think that's great, and I thank you and Councillor Patterson for expanding on what I said, and I just want to say that everything was made with good intentions. You know, staff had good intentions. We as council did too regarding putting the trail in, but we are sensitive to the community and to their concerns, and so I think this is going to end up, properly. And yeah, so I'm happy with the result here that staff brings something back to us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's your council at work. Thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to hearing more about this, Mr. Vachon, later on. All right, members of council, I have an opportunity to give you a quick report and then we'll move on in our agenda. I want to just advise that I got an awesome email about the Great Northern Exhibition. So I'm going to take an opportunity to give you guys a little public service announcement. They're doing a drive-through chicken barbecue for pre-orders. Chicken barbecue coming up on August the 5th. You need to get your pre-orders in for the GNE chicken barbecue drive-through by July 29th. So that's Thursday. And the best thing you can do is send an email to admin@greatnorthernx.gmail. And so, so they're, or .com. admin@greatnorthernx.com. They're doing a fundraiser. Obviously, the GNE has been suffering just like any other sort of public organization or private group during COVID, but they're doing a drive-through chicken barbecue. If you recall, the GNE does a steak barbecue every year as a big fundraiser for the GNE grounds and the Collingwood Agricultural Society. So I just want to give them a little plug to ask the community to go out and support them and get your chicken barbecue pre-orders in. All right. There is information available on our website through the community calendar. So there's a nice poster on the community calendar page. That's my little PSA for this time. Okay, council, we're going to move on to item number 12, which is our department reports, unless there's anything further underneath board reports. Nobody else? Thank you, folks. All right. Here's a big one. Community Services, CS039-2021. This is an official plan amendment for 10581 County Road number 10. Recommendation, be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby 1, receive report CS039-2021, report for information. And item 2, authorize to execute bylaw 2172 regarding an adoption of the official plan amendment number 22 for lands municipally known as 10581 County Road 10 North, part of Lot 20, ESR Concession 5, formerly Sunnydale, now in the Township of Clearview. And I'm looking for a mover and seconder, and then we'll get a report from our staff. Where are we at? Ms. Deputy Mayor Burton, Councillor Broderick, thank you, gentlemen. Rosalind Workman has joined us. Hello, Roz. I haven't seen you in a few weeks. And Mara is here. I've had a conversation with Mara just recently, but nice to see you both. I'll go to Mara first. Hello, Mara. Would you like to speak to this report?
Actually, yes, thank you. It's this is a official plan amendment that would allow a farm consolidation whereby the lands don't abut. And this is Rosalind's file, so I would actually like to pass it over to Rosalind.
Okay, well, I appreciate the introduction. Hello, Roz.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Mayor and councilors, just a little bit of a refresher. The property is located on 10581 County Road 10. And of course, that's in former Sunnydale Township. Just as you recall, the public meeting was held back in March 8th, 2021, and staff have been working diligently on some policy changes to our official plan section on farm consolidations. And just as a way of a refresher, it is a site-specific official plan amendment, meaning that it is only applying to the property that I described earlier, and that it is going to be looking at section 9.4 of the agricultural consents, and specifically section 9.42. And in this case, the application, the OPA, was required to change the policy as follows: that the severance of a residential surplus to the farming operation where the owner does not own the land adjacent or across the road from the subject lands. And secondly, to ensure measured controls on the severance of a resident surplus to a farming operation, and that the township will develop measures or tests to guide how non-adjacent properties are to sever the resident surplus to the farming operation as a result of a farm consolidation. And what we did was we included these specific measures and tests in this official plan amendment. So that being said, I think you've got my report, you've got the official plan, and I'm here to answer any specific questions that you might have on that.
Okay, thank you, Rosalind, and thank you, Mara. Members of council, do you have any questions to our staff on this OP? I see no hands and no cards. All right. Listen, can I ask that you did mention that this is site-specific because this application was applied for in a site-specific manner. But would this now be a policy that could be expanded into our policies when it comes to severance consideration? Mara?
Oh.
Or Roz?
So I can take that actually, or unless Mara wants to take it, but.
Sure, either one.
So actually, thank you, Mayor Measures. So in this case, the policies have been written into this section. They don't necessarily apply to the specific application, but as mentioned in my planning report, we anticipate that there may be some interest in applying this type of application on other lands. And so staff got ahead a little bit of some of those applications and did some thinking on where we'd like to see these farm consolidation policies go. And in that case, we did sort of include these tests in this application. So not meant to apply township wide, but is certainly anticipating being used or considered in the future.
Okay. Mara, are you satisfied with that answer? I think you would be, but I'm just asking.
Yes. And of course, we're here for more questions.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. I see Councillor Lamers just put up his card. Hello, John. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah. I can see opening the floodgates to many farmers trying to sever these lots off. And this one here is 0.37 of a hectare. That's a pretty small parcel.
Mara or Roz, comment?
Was that I just don't know what the question is.
Mr. Lamers, is there a question or is that just a comment?
Yeah, are we going to put any lot sizes on some of these recommendations?
Yeah, so what happens, Councillor Lamers, is that the official plan is first, and then there'll be a zoning amendment that follows, so that the zoning amendment will look to that to implement the official plan if council considers adopting the official plan. Is that the question, or?
Well, I think I might understand it through the mayor to Councillor Lamers. Typically when we do a farm consolidation, the retained lot that has the house on it is generally around 1 hectare and usually not any larger than 1 hectare. And I'm sure Rosalind can help me with this if I say something wrong. So, and so the real difference with this application is currently our official plan only allows a farm consolidation for a lot that is actually adjacent, so that the farm itself with the next farm over can merge together or is directly across the street. So there's a locational criteria. In this case, the owners of the property don't own the farm they're amalgamating with, like right abutting or right adjacent. It's a little further away. So the idea here is that perhaps we could consider this one, but in order to sort of prevent the floodgates from opening, whereby we might have, farmers, maybe big corporate farmers that are in Niagara-on-the-Lake or in some other part of the province wanting to amalgamate farms, the recommendation is that it stay very local. And so Rosalind has put in some sort of tests and criteria that farmers have to meet here. And those would be that their farm can't be any further than, I think is it 2 kilometers, Rosalind? From the existing farm. And that was an intent to try to make sure that we still allowed farm amalgamations. They didn't necessarily have to abut, but that it was still local. And then the other criteria that was put forward was that if another farm was just outside the political boundary of Clearview, they could still do it, but there's still that locational criteria that they have to be not too far. So there's a number of things that were added in anticipation that even though this is for this very particular application, that we would expect that others would want to apply for an official plan amendment that would also do the same thing, but it's not being completely open. So basically, to the point that Councillor Lamers is making, the retained house is still small, but that's how farm amalgamations are typically done. Does that make sense? Did I answer the question?
Let's go to Councillor Lamers. Are you comfortable, Councillor Lamers?
Yeah, no, that sounded good. Thank you, Mara.
Thank you. Good work, team there. Okay, Deputy Mayor Burton, you want to say something?
No, it's quite all right. Mara and Rosalind explained everything quite well. I was just going to add that, but they done it. So,
as they always do, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, members of council, anything further? All right, I'm going to thank our staff. Members of council, you've heard the motion. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're still in this community services area. Building department activities report, which I believe Scott is here. Hello, Scott McLeod. Another person I haven't seen in a long time. Nice to see you again, sir. I will read this and then I'll ask for a mover and seconder. CS 040-2021 Building Department Activities Report. This is April and June. Recommendation, be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby 1, receive CS 040-2021, the Building Department Activities Report for April through June of 2021, report for information. Mover and seconder on the motion, please. Roderick, seconder. Lamers, thank you. Hello, Scott McLeod. Would you like to review some of the content of your report?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. So just thought I again would highlight some of the items from the report. You can see from the statistics from April through June that we are having an extremely strong spring here in Clearview in terms of building permits, which is very encouraging. Number of permits is up over 60%. The construction value is up over 300%, and revenue is up 43%. And the construction value is just reflective of the nature of the permits. It's a lot of new residential units, and so the construction value is certainly high on them. So we continue to, work remotely with the COVID-19 restrictions, and yet we're still managing we're not meeting our timeframes. I'll be quite blunt about that. We're doing an awesome job in getting the building permits reviewed and out, but again, we are working remotely in teams, and that does create some time delays. But we are doing the best that we can under the circumstances. And the same extends to inspections and review. So we continue to follow our COVID-19 protocols in terms of our inspections in the field. Those all remain in place. But what has changed in April, the provincial government did implement some restrictions that affected commercial and industrial construction, but those restrictions were lifted in early June. And so there are no longer any provincial restrictions with respect to what construction can take place or activities that can occur. So we continue to actively work on our City View software implementation. So we're in a testing phase with that right now. And so again, there's some challenges doing that remotely. It's a little slower to work on when you're working remotely as opposed to in the office and doing that. But we do continue to do that, and all departments that are involved in this project, the bylaw department, the planning department, and the building department are actively working on that, and it's progressing well. We're looking at, we continue to look towards a September implementation date. So certainly would be probably with my next report, which will be in October. I hope to be able to provide a presentation on, what that looks and feels like, whatever, for council. And then the septic re-inspection program as well. We're still working forward with that. Since we've already gone through this cycle once, and we've looked at all the septics within the wellhead protection areas in a high level of detail. One of the benefits of this round of our review is we're not having to go to every property and review it. In some cases, because we've already been to the site and understand and have a good working knowledge of the health of the septic system. In a lot of cases, we're just strictly looking for an updated pump out report for the septic system, but we do have some septic systems that we highlighted some condition issues previously, and those ones we are doing follow-up inspections. But right now we're concentrating on Buckingham Woods, Collingwood Lands, and the McKean subdivision. All notices have been sent out, and we're continuing to receive feedback from those property owners and pump out reports accordingly. Otherwise, that's all I had to highlight on this report, but I certainly would be happy to entertain any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate your report. It was very interesting to see the marked increase in number of building permit applications. That's quite impressive. I would expect that as certainly the town of Stayner continues to move forward with water servicing and sewer servicing availability, that those residential numbers may continue to increase. Certainly any talk we've had with developers, they have every intention of continuing to move ahead. So I'm sure your department will be very busy. Members of council, do you have any questions to Scott McLeod regarding his report? Yes, Councillor Patterson.
Just follow on to what the mayor was just saying, because my question was related to your perspective from the building side. I know Mike is working with the water treatment plant in Creemore and the water and Stayner, et cetera. And he's getting it up and running for us. From your point of view, it looks, when I compare 2020 to 2022 seasonally, you can say that you took a bit of a dip at the beginning of 2020, maybe because of the reaction to the pandemic. But you have the same kind of dip going in here. It looks like we're having a typical pattern year, or maybe and a little bit more. So can I read from that there's no adverse medium-term reaction to our difficulty with servicing in Clearview? They see it as momentary, they're doing their work and expecting that we'll solve it?
Through your worship to Councillor Patterson, while I can't speak to the servicing status and all that, what I can say is what I understand in terms of Saga Station and the next phase of development there that may be coming forward later this fall in terms of opening into that phase. We're currently in the first phase there, but we've issued all permits in the first phase. There's a number of permits that will probably come forward for that late in the fall, certainly into next year. We're currently sitting on upwards of 80 applications for the Briarwood Homes development on off of south side of Stainer. I'm sorry,
Margaret Street.
Off of Margaret Street. Thank you. We've been working with the developer while they're not in a position to move forward right now. They do have the servicing capacity, but they're working on finalizing their roads and everything else so that permits can be available. We've been proactively working with the developer to review all their certified models, which we have done. And they're also making application for the permits so that they'll be staged and ready to go when they have a release for that development. We'll be in a position to issue permits. So there's quite a lot of permits certainly that will be coming either later this fall and into next year. So and certainly in the next couple of years, I'm not seeing any impact from that at this point. So, but certainly in terms of where we are in terms of servicing and all that, I would track that to Mike Ron or Dan.
Yeah, if I may, of course. But I'm just saying from your perspective, it sounds to me like we're progressing with what we knew, and it doesn't look from your view of the housing market, especially, that we're not losing any to another community that has equivalent services.
I would just say the opposite. Through your worship to Councillor Patterson, I'd say just the opposite. There's more of a, because there is not the ability to move forward with projects in other communities because of servicing, it's actually heightened the demand in our municipality. So projects, somebody that may have been working in another municipality with a builder that can't move forward with their project at this time, but was planning to move forward at a later date with a project in Clearview, those projects are moving up. And so we're seeing those. So just the opposite, it's actually impacting us and putting more pressure on us.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Good questions, Councillor Patterson. Any other members of council with any questions to Councillor Scott McLeod? Council? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Scott, for your report. It's always good to see reports when the numbers continue to go up. So on this type of report, thank you very much for that. Members of council, you've heard the motion and you've heard the report. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Scott. Nice to see you again. Council, we're going to move on to CS041 Committee of Adjustment for July. A recommendation be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive CS041 2021 Committee of Adjustment for July 2021 report for information. Can I have a mover and seconder on the motion? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Deneen. Is there any questions to the report? All right, pretty straightforward report. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Council, we're moving on to page 4. Development update. This is something that Councillor Patterson asked for. So how about we put it on the floor and then we'll ask Mayor Burton to give us a bit of a presentation. CS042 2021 Development Update. Recommendation be it resolved. Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive CS042 2021 Development Update for information. Mover and seconder, Councillor Patterson, I presume, and Councillor Walker. Councillor Patterson, Councillor Walker. Hello, Mara. I really enjoyed reading this report. Perhaps you could highlight some of the outlines that's in this report. Mara?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening. So, we're in all various different forms of development throughout the township. Commercial development still strong, residential development still strong. We've got obviously lots of developers who want servicing in Stainer and activity starting to happen again in Creemore, which is exciting. So I'm not really sure. It might be best if I just fielded questions if there were questions, but things are still moving ahead quite strong.
Well, before we go to questions, I just want to comment that from the report, council can observe and staff can observe that there are multiple developers and interested parties that our planning staff deal with on a regular basis. And there's a lot of files that they have to keep track of. So I just want to thank them for all that work and keeping track of it all, as well as maintaining good communications with our developers. And so thank you for that. Well, members of questions. We have questions. Councillor Leishman, I think I saw your card first. Did I not? Connie?
Yes.
How about you jump right in?
Okay. This is a question I already asked Mayor, but I think I should put it in for the record. On the SO on the run, I don't know whether this council probably doesn't remember, but last council, we had a presentation from Norma. At the time, she was the owner of Affairs Cafe. And she reminded us that the owner of SO on the Run had promised to put a sign for Creemore on his property, directing people to Creemore and just a little bit of what's available in Creemore. And he promised he would do that. And he said that he'd do that when we granted him all the other things at the beginning. And then Norma had to come and talk to us later and ask us again. So here I am, not being Norma, but I'd like to ask us again, can we put a fire under this man and put a sign on that corner? Because that's something that's like, I think 5 years ago, 4 years ago, we were asked to do that.
It might be more. It might be more.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Anyway.
Good point. Mara, and then to Mr. Ferguson. Go ahead, Mara.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that we'd be happy to facilitate that. The sign location was identified on the site plan. I believe that situation was that the BIA was going to negotiate sort of what they wanted on the sign, what they wanted to say, where it was going to go, that kind of thing, other than, if it was going to be something put in the drive-through maybe, or, whether it was going to be the location out closer to the road that basically said, an arrow towards Creemore. We're happy to facilitate that. I think really it's just a matter of let's just get it done. So, if the BIA wants to provide the sign, then we would certainly reach out and, have it installed by the owner. Or alternatively, if the municipality was interested, perhaps we could do one of our, signs that identified sort of the direction to Creemore at that location. Maybe that's something we could look at. We can certainly talk to the Public Works Department to see, or whoever was in charge of the sign, ordering the signs, if we can't get something and then just get that done. We can certainly reach out to the owner. I think it would be helpful if we get the sign and just, I don't see this as a difficult thing to do. We just need to do it.
Fair enough. Thank you, Councillor Leishman. Tom, before I go to you, I want to go to the CAO. Perhaps, Mr. CAO, you could facilitate this as a reach out on behalf of the community to the owners of this property through Mara, and you guys could work together to establish some of those terms, and then perhaps yourself or through the clerk's office, you could work with the BIA in Creemore to help facilitate some of that information. And I did like that hint that Mara presented about using some of our Clearview branding and branding signs, which might be quite consistent across the township to do that. So thank you for that. Councillor Patterson, you're up next, and then I recognize Dan has joined us. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thanks. Just to add, thanks to Councillor Leishman for her interest in it. When I saw this on the agenda, I went and inspected the site. There was quite a bit of effort put into our suggestions for the design. And it wasn't just a passive sign. It was an electronic sign. In fact, it's still there. The concrete pillar with the conduit in the location shown on the draft plan is there. And it's been asked for several times. And my point tonight would be, as part of, now we've kind of got the last bit of leverage that we have in terms of the review of the holdback. And so I think I'd be happy to provide my notes and my background to the CAO to just inform him of what's been happening over the years. But it was quite elaborate. The promises were quite broad, and it included passive signage, excuse me, passive signage. Let me try this one more time. Okay, good. I don't have a dog in the background to distract you guys while I'm coughing, but it was quite elaborate. There was inside discussion, which was kind of not a pie in the sky, but I know a good wish for, and it would have been right in the at the counter, overhead counter, with some of their screens. There was a sign on the side of the building that seemed like it was going to happen. It was volunteered by the owner of the franchise for the Tim Hortons, and it would be a sign promoting the village. And then there was an electronic sign, I'll call it that, to actually be interactive. That we could schedule events and have them posted there. Those are the suggestions that went our way. There was never a response back from that I'm aware of that we could act on. So if anyone has those, like in the planning department, for example, maybe we could give them out. But I'm not aware of any concrete replies to the suggestion, other than yes, we're going to do it for you. This was always pre-construction. But the facilities are there, and the draft plan provision has been noted.
Thank you, Tom. Get a glass of water there. I see Mara, but I would like to go to Dan, if I may. Dan joined us. If there's something you want to add there, Dan?
Thank you, Your Worship. And yeah, today was the first that I've heard of it as well. So I've reached out to our development implementation technologist and our engineering consultant at RJ Burnside, and you know, we are all fairly new to this file, and we'll look into the files along with planning to see if and what any sort of design or what notes were made. But they are noted on the site plan itself. I can confirm that. But we just need to work through design, and as part of the development implementation part of Public Works, we'll look at getting that complete and that done before the release of any security.
Okay, well done. I'm going to go to Mara. Mara had her hand up. Go ahead, Mara.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just am looking for some clarity as to who is actually going to pay for the signage, and if maybe Councillor Patterson might recall the conversation with the owner, because I don't know that I know that. And if we were talking about an electronic sign, depending on what the electronic sign is, they are very expensive. And I wonder if maybe that's where some of the breakdown was as to who was going to actually pay for what. So a little clarity might help us get the ball rolling back with the owner again on that. Because I think there's a simple solution, but it all depends on, are we putting in a township, Creemore this way sign? Are we putting in, electronic sign? And are we doing billboard? Like there's, just how far is this going, I guess.
Sure, there's a lot of questions that need to be resolved. And so Councillor Leishman, while you've cracked open this can of interesting commentary, I think it's good that we should follow up and get it completed. So that's why I mentioned earlier, we put it in the hands of the CAO. We can get things happening here. So that's good. Now, Councillor Patterson, you're up, and then Deputy Mayor. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say quickly, because I forgot to make note of your comment as well, is and we'll have to get the BIA, because the BIA might have a different idea now too. So I'll pull out my file, talk to the CAO, what state of the request was back then. I don't think I can answer the question of who's paying for it. I would say publicly, we didn't think we were, but it wasn't exactly clear what the final product was going to be. So that's where we are right now. But I'll be happy to share my folder. I think it's in, it's in the basement, been filed.
Well, it's, like I said, it's got to be 5-6 years ago, right?
I know.
It's got to be.
I know. Okay.
Great, thank you. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, I remember these discussions quite well. And I remember one of the conditions that were, my understanding of the conditions was they were to provide what we called a gateway sign, like gateway to Creemore. And that's was what it was meant to be. Typically some type of, sign with some digital in it, but it's got some sort of, it's not just a square sign, it's got some sort of finesse to it. And, I'm going to say wood surrounding or a metal surrounding that has a bit of like a sculptured surrounding around it. And so it's to be a gateway sign. And my understanding was they were to provide a gateway sign is condition of getting their approval.
Okay. There you go. I would suggest that we reinvestigate this instead of continuing to talk about this. And so the direction's been given through the mayor and CAO Ferguson. Obviously a meeting with perhaps the deputy mayor, Councillor Patterson. I'd love to be included. We can have a little quick talk about this. And as Dan pointed out, we don't want to release any securities until we get that resolved. So that's good. All right, guys, that's good. Councillor Patterson, one more.
One little cobweb that was shaken out too. I believe, and Rosalind, forgive me if you're on and I misrepresent. I think Rosalind got involved, and because I think we broadened the sign. It was going to be a gateway sign, but it was also going to include a Clearview news. I think that's the kind of.
Sure. Clearview was always going to be on the sign for sure.
No, well, it wasn't that clear with the BIA because, of course, they were representing concerns about the development going on at Cashtown Corners. But then, as it evolved and it was getting closer to what the township's position was, I believe that's also true. So maybe if Rosalind's not here and can comment, I think it was Rosalind that I had the discussion on.
Well, whatever it is, it'll come back to this council for approval, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. All right, now, Councillor Leishman, thank you for bringing that up. That's one small point of this development report that Mara Burton has presented to us. Members of council, is there any other points in her report that you would like to discuss or any questions in regards to development activity across the township? Yes, go ahead, Tom. Oh, you've muted again, sir.
I said I waited respectfully, but
it's okay. I leave it open.
I'll make it quick because I think, Mara, just a clarification. It's great, by the way. I really welcome it. I've asked for this in the past, like on a quarterly, and I know it's tough to do, so I appreciate the effort you put into it. It's just the right level that I wanted to see, especially at this case, and it just gives you a jumping off point for questions. So you're okay if we follow up any discussions tonight with the continued questions, and some of them may be better to talk to you first before I ask some of the questions that might not be public information yet. Hopefully will be eventually. So the Lions, the roadway, just a quick one to Dan. The concern was I knew about the condition of the property for sale. My concern was how the road was going to be fixed. Was I going to be left to the new purchaser or whatever? I didn't like what I saw. I saw the pavement cut and it looked like we were preserving the gutters. I thought the deal was with Alliance that we're curb and guttering at least one side of the process. Just a quick comment, if you know.
All that specific detail, but I'm interested too. Mr. Perot, do you have any recollection of, or have you reviewed the file on Mary Street regarding curb and gutter?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Patterson. That is the case. Developer is required to urbanize, and that is the reason for the cutting of asphalt right now, is that they're prepping to remove that asphalt to place curb and gutter in that location. They have some minor base asphalt repairs that they have to do as well, and then curb and gutter, sidewalk, fine grading, and a top lift of asphalt.
Okay.
So that's all happening. That's all started now, and it's going to be continued on through the summer and fall.
Okay, so if I may, so I thought the worst part of the roadway was the condition of the asphalt. It was done in winter conditions. It was done fairly quick, and I thought it looked to me as if they were going to take the asphalt out rather than put another top lift on it, because it's really not a good base. and they were going to leave the curb and gutter. So you're saying they're going to take the strip what's the gutter out and put the curb in and then asphalt on top of that. Asphalt on top of the existing road, existing asphalt in the road traveled portion of the road.
Yeah. So through your worship, to Councillor Patterson again. Yeah. So the where it's cut right now, that will be removed. Concrete curb and gutter will be put in. There are so that the asphalt that's left or remaining. There are some repairs that need to be done. They've submitted a geotechnical report to the township already. Our engineers are reviewing that for the sections of the areas where that base course asphalt has to be repaired or repaved. And then once all that work is complete, there'll be a final lift of asphalt on top.
Okay, I'll take this up with you later. My concern is that is not a good base to continue on as a permanent road. But I'll bow to your wisdom. I just, as a person that drives on it every day, it bugs me that we got that kind of a first pass. And I see some heads nodding that know more about asphalt than I do. But anyway, okay. Question on, do you want me to do it, my list of questions, or Mary Street, the tree, lots of questions there, but one of the timely ones right now is the tree clearing plan that was committed to by MDM. This is the development of 121 Mary Street, formerly the McIntosh property. So the question, is
that for Mara, or where are you going?
This would be for Mara, I guess.
Okay.
And through your worship, Councillor Patterson, can you be more specific on what your question is?
The tree, are they still doing the tree clearing plan?
Yeah, that is a requirement.
Okay. And a question I have, we can take it offline if you like, the question of Airbnb.
We have reached out to them, and it was a third party that's advertising that there are no restrictions in rental. So I did reach out to MDM, the developer, and they advised that they say there's no restrictions in rental, and that everyone has to abide by the bylaws of the municipality. And I guess third-party realtors decided that that meant that they could do short-term rentals. I have reached out to both realtors who were advertising that, advising them that they need to retract that, and I've received no response.
Okay.
So that's where I am at this point. But we will enforce our bylaws, and as you know, certainly in our subdivision agreements, we've added that, and I think that's something we'll start doing to our site plan agreements as well.
Yeah. I've been, as we probably all noticed in the South Georgian Bay region, the invasion of the Airbnb weekend is really causing a lot of trouble with permanent residents and cottage associations. So we're going to have to be hard on this. And I know we've got the bylaws. So quick question on the.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I was just going to say, take advantage of the opportunity to say that, housing is for housing. And when we start short-term rentals, then we're, if it's the one weekend here and there, I don't think anybody has a big concern about that. But if it's taking housing off the market,
yes,
and it's becoming commercial, that is a real problem, because housing is a human right. And, once these are off the market, they could be off the market permanently. And that's not why we're building houses.
Yeah,
we have restrictions through the province and so on to provide a certain amount of housing and a certain amount of growth. And we really need to make sure that we are, providing that supply to try to keep things as affordable as we can. So it is very much an important issue. And we in the planning department are really supportive of enforcing that bylaw.
And I'll take it further than that, because I know we all believe this. It's why we're building a community, not just houses, and not just places to rent out and invest in. You need to invest in our community. You do that by living, playing, and working in our community. So I appreciate your support.
Councillor Patterson, I want to support you on that, because I also believe we're trying to build a community here too. And we're building a community where people come to live. This is not about the commercial Airbnb operations. And so because you brought it up, I just want to mention, I want to thank a local realtor who contacted me directly. And I then contacted Miss Burton, who was away on a day off. She had a day off. She answered her email. And so, as I always say to all of our senior staff, be careful when you get an email from the mayor. So thank you for answering my call, Mayor Burton. And she immediately contacted the people at MDM to advise them that that was contravening our bylaws. And so I want to thank Mara for doing that. And I also want to acknowledge that it's great when local realtors recognize that and support that. That is, the wishes of this community as we build it, that we are not an Airbnb destination. And so thank you for that. And thank you for everybody bringing that all up. Mara wants to say something, and we'll go back to you, Tom. Go ahead, Mara.
Sorry, thank you. And because you mentioned local realtors, I do want to make it clear that it was not local realtors who were advertising that, right? It was not a local, they were not local to our area at all. So I just wanted to make it clear that it wasn't a local realtor.
Thank you very much for that. Okay. Tom, did you have a couple more? And then I saw the card. I think it was the deputy mayor.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just do a couple quick ones, and then I'll continue my questions offline. Of particular interest, I think, in the public is what's happening with the southeast corner of Creemore with regards to all the development, including Mr. Zhang, the MDM Alliance, etc. And with the wastewater treatment issue and the allocation process, and then some of the discussions that we've had over the spring and summer about some people wanting to sever and develop lots. I hope that what we're doing, working out, and Mike I know has heard this and is committed to doing this, that we do a fair allocation process once we have the capacity, so that all those needs are met. And I know that the pressure will be that if we're contributing to the solution, that we should get first in line. And I'm hoping and that may be a good point, but it may not be the only point. So I'm hoping council will get a chance to review the way we get out what I assume is going to be limited allocations in November, December, January timeframe, once we know we've got a successful solution in Creemore. I would say the same in Stainer, but I know this one best. I just make it a statement. I don't need anyone to answer right now. I just want to voice my opinion on that now while we've got it. Can you tell me what the security reduction at Steer is really, the review of security reduction?
I don't, that would be more Baz who actually goes out and ensures that there's compliance with the site plan. So, we're looking at, are they meeting their log grading and drainage, their lighting, their landscape requirements, their paving requirements, all of that sort of thing. It'd be a typical site visit to ensure that they're in compliance with everything that they need in order to get a security reduction. But it's a little bit hard for me to speak to that because I don't know the ins and outs of that file. That would be Public Works that does that part for us.
Okay, when you're using the word security, you're talking about the withholding, the security deposit made when you're doing the investment and a reduction in that, or are you talking about security in terms of protecting your property?
I thought you were talking about security reduction in the financial and securing.
I understand now. I understand what you're doing then. Okay. I thought there was something different because the operation is significantly different than the outcome of the site plan in terms of the amount of vehicles on the site and outside and that sort of thing, where some of the public concerns were associated with that. I just wondered what you were talking about there. 143 and 145 on Mill Street. We haven't seen anything on that yet. The development, there's a vacant lot and then a closed building.
We are, through the mayor to Councillor Patterson, we are reviewing that file. We won't be able to necessarily issue any permits or finalize. Obviously, we'd be bringing forward a site plan agreement to council, so that's why you haven't seen it yet. And we won't be able to actually issue any permits on that until we actually have capacity for that.
Are we? Is it going to be mixed use, residential, commercial? Is it going to be? Can you say if it's going to be commercial or services? Is it going to be more commercial, non-retail, or are we going to continue to grow our retail on Mill Street?
I'm not exactly sure what their plans are on the main floor. It will be commercial, and then they're looking at residential above. But that's still it's still early days on that file at this point.
All right. Remember the efforts we've all had to try to to find a place for all the people who want to do business in Creemore and in Clearview. But we would like to build the retail aspect on Mill Street. It really helps in the marketing of the street, and we have an awful lot of non-retail, not a lot, but more than we'd like in a small commercial area. So to the extent we can influence.
Mara's got something there. Go ahead, Mara.
Yes, thank you. So we've discussed this a little bit before, but if that's something that council wants to see done, where we create more retail district in the downtown, or a restaurant district, or a combination of retail, restaurant, and offices elsewhere within the downtown, or something like that, where we cluster those things, that would need to be done through our official plan process and then zoning. So at this point, if they want to put in an office or a retail or a restaurant, the zoning allows all of those things, and we wouldn't be able to control that at this today.
Yeah, and I realize that. I know no other message in this thing. I know it's been busy to get the OP out, and I just think that we should do some forward thinking on this too, and encourage, if it's an open investment plan that we get from this investor and he asks what's best for our town, I would put retail and Mill Street right there on top of the list. But I understand what you're saying right now. Midwest Metals, DMS, you mean now, by the way. It's on the report as Midwest.
Yeah, sorry, my apologies.
It's okay, but you were talking about same property.
Yes.
Okay. So anything imminent coming from us on that involvement in the development?
We are waiting to hear back from the owner at this point.
Okay.
I think they're still looking to work some things out, but I don't really want to talk about in public session.
I've been
not that there's anything we could, but, you know.
That's enough said. I've been here long enough that I don't have to guess at this. There will be public reaction to whatever's done there. So you know, but so the sooner we know and can inform when they start to see activity, you know, we need to do the usual thing. So, all right, I'm already getting questions on the property. So, yeah. Those are the rest. I'll cover off later.
Thank you very much. And Tom and all members of council, I encourage you to reach out to Mara and the staff through the CAO if you have any questions about any of these individual things. If you have something you'd like to bring up now, I look for other cards. I think Deputy Mayor, did you have your card? Yes, he did. Oh.
Yeah, yes, Your Worship, and please excuse my indulgence, but I think Council should be aware. I'd like to call on our chief payment about a serious car and motorcycle accident right on County Road 9 and Mill Street, right here in downtown Creemore. Some serious injuries, I believe. So, wonder if you could advise us what's going on there.
Certainly, through Your Worship, to Mayor Burton and councillors. There's definitely an ongoing serious incident in Creemore on County Road 9 at the intersection of Mill Street and Fairgrounds Road. A car did allegedly turn in front of a motorcycle, which in turn struck the motorcycle that did have a couple of riders on it, and the passenger of the motorcycle was certainly injured. The roadway, I do believe, has since been reopened just over the last couple of minutes, but was closed for an extended investigation pending a critical injury or potential fatal injury. So that's what's going on there.
All right. Pray for the health and welfare of the people that are involved. Thank you for the update, Councillor Payment. Deputy Mayor Burton, thank you for bringing it forward, and thank you, Chief. Is there anybody else with any questions in regards to this report? Anybody else with any questions? Okay. One thing I'll just like to, yes, Mara, you go ahead, and then I have a question for you.
Okay, well, I think I should defer to you first.
All right. I just want to point out, I think it's exciting that this is the first time I've seen it on paper, that there is a potential for a Tim Hortons to show up in Singhampton at the gas station up there. It's the first I've heard about it, but I've not seen it written in paper until right here. So that's when I've acknowledged that's you know, something that certainly when the weather clamps in on Singhampton will be a very popular spot, will it not? Not so different than Sunnydale Corners, Councillor Leishman, wouldn't you suggest? To be similar kind of situation. you know. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting to note that was in your report. So thank you for that, Mara. And the other thing I'd like to mention is on our website, clearview.ca, the planning department has a very good section of the website, and a lot of this information is available through the website. Mara, maybe you could just speak to that and how often your staff are updating that information.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Yes, if you go under planning and then you go under current projects, you can scroll through all of our current projects and get updates. We update it as, really as quick as we can, but it all kind of depends on when stuff comes in and when staff has the moment to do it. And actually, if I could take the opportunity right now, I just want to thank the staff and, Rosalind, Nick, Christine, Baz, they all work so incredibly hard, and Janet. There's so much work here, and every day I'm amazed at how hard our people work here at the township, and they just do a fantastic job, and I'm so very proud of them, and just don't often get the opportunity to say so, and so I'm taking the opportunity now.
Yeah, no kidding. I want to mention Baz. What a great combination employee we have there, because he works with the planning department and with the public works department and deals directly with public works issues, but then has a liaison with your department. I think it's a great position we have here in our township. So thank you for that. Well, great, members of council, is there nothing further? Great report. Thank you, Mara. We've got a mover and seconder on the floor. I know the mover is actually just stepped away from the camera, but I suspect the mover is still in the room. So if we're all comfortable, we'll just call the motion.
Still in the room.
He's still in the room. There he is. Barry, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries. And again, thank you for all your work on this. I appreciate it, Mara, and to the entire team. All right, members of council, we're going to move to bylaw enforcement. We're going to talk about canine control, which was early in our meeting. Okay, so BL 004 canine control bylaw update. Recommendation be it resolved, council of the township of Clearview hereby one, receive BL 004 2021 canine control bylaw update report for information. And item number 2, direct staff to present a new canine control bylaw for council's consideration at the August 23rd, 2021 meeting as outlined in Schedule B of this report. And item 3, direct staff to present to council for consideration an amendment to the fees and charges of bylaw 17-110, Schedule F, updating the dog tag fee as outlined in this report. Can I have a mover and seconder on the motion? Broderick Walker. Broderick Walker, very good. Is there any update from our Joe Paddock? Are you there, Joe? Is there anything further you want to add to this, Mr. Paddock? You're the senior officer as well as the person who wrote this report. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's just a few updates to the bylaw. It hasn't really been changed since 2001. So when we started conversation with DocuPet, it was noted that there are some changes we need to make, mainly the 365-day schedule and the declaration for rabies instead of providing, hard copy proof to the township. There's a few sections added, dangerous dogs. Currently, we have to go through the Dog Owners Liability Act, which requires us to go through the court system to issue muzzle and or leash orders. With these updates, we'll be able to do that in-house, which it can be done much quicker. We did add some more requirements for kennel licenses, fence heights, heating, lighting, and the overall cleanliness of the facilities. And we updated our POA fines. When looking at surrounding municipalities, ours seem to be substantially lower than theirs, so we did increase them. As for the fee for dog tags, it's just a flat fee now, $26 for spayed and neutered, and $32 if it is unaltered. Besides that, we did, as Sasha mentioned earlier, we did increase the replacement tag from $2.50 to $7.50.
All right, members of council, you got any questions to Joe Paddock or any of the staff who have worked on this report? All right. I do have one small question since I don't see anybody else. Joe, certainly the veterinarian community very much promote the use of the chip and ID for pets. Sometimes they're on cats, sometimes they're on dogs. Is there any advantage to a pet owner for having those chips and having it registered with the license, or with the dog license and the dog tag license? Is there any advantage to having that registered, or is it an item on the application to indicate the dog has been chipped?
We don't have anything specific related to microchips of dogs. It would be a benefit. It would be a benefit if the dog was lost or didn't have a township tag, and it was found by somebody. But there's nothing in our bylaw that speaks to it.
Right. And second follow-up to that is the Township of Clearview does not own and operate a dog scanning tag identification device. Is that correct?
That's correct. If we do find a dog, the Allison and District Humane Society would be the people who scan the dog.
I'm aware of a couple of bylaw enforcement officers from various communities that do have that service, but we do not do that here at the Township of Clearview. It goes directly to our pound service and or other veterinarians in the community who do that service. So I just want to clarify that as part of this canine discussion. Anybody else with any questions or comments to Joe? All right, Council, thank you for that. I'm going to prepare to call the motion. Thank you, Joe. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Paddock. Good to see you.
Have a good day.
All right, Parks, Culture, Recreation. We've got a few items here for Terry and or Terry's staff. I think it's just Terry, though. Nice to see you, sir. Okay, Parks, Culture, Recreation. PCR 016-2021 Creemore Community Foundation Agreement. Recommendation be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive PCR 016-2021 Creemore Community Foundation Amendment Agreement report for information. Item number 2, that a bylaw be presented to Council to amend Schedule A of bylaw number 19-89, the Creemore Village Green Management Agreement, to include the revisions to the management agreement as outlined within this report. Okay, mover and seconder, and then we'll hear from Terry. Mr. Broderick. Councillor Deneen, thank you for that. Terry, I appreciate your report. There's some really good information in here, and also some changes in the direction to which the foundation decided to go, particularly in the renaming of the employee that they're going to engage. So I can appreciate that we have to amend our report because they're renaming the duties of their staff person. So that's pretty obvious. Is there anything else, Terry, in the report you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, just a quick history, Your Worship. As you know, yourself and CAO Ferguson and myself, we met with the Creemore Community Foundation as per our agreement to meet on an annual basis. Soon after that meeting, I reached out to Stuart to review this agreement. An agreement that actually hasn't come into force yet because, as you know, the park isn't built. But we thought it would be a good time to review it and perhaps tweak some language in there to provide some more clarity. So Stuart Lazure and myself, we went through the whole agreement and we came up with these 5 amendments, Your Worship, for Council's consideration. Hopefully you'll vote in favor of those amendments to the agreement. And in turn, I will meet with our stakeholders, being the Station on the Green Board, as well as the Creemore Horticultural Society, to share these outcomes and discuss the details of this agreement. I'm available for any questions, Your Worship.
Excellent. It's pretty straightforward information. Is there any members of council with questions? All right, Councillor Patterson, are you still there? Just checking. I don't see any calls. Terry, thank you very much for the work on this. I hope that you would continue to communicate. Oh, okay, Councillor McKechnie, you're up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure if this applies to the agreement or not, but just wondering. So we have the station on the green, and we also have the village green now, and they're both managed by separate boards. And is there any thought to maybe combining the 2 boards so that we can have a more unified management there, coordinated management? Any thoughts of having just one board overlook both village green and the station on the green?
Terry, that's an open-ended question, so we'll put it to you, Terry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. With all due respect, through you to Councillor McKechnie, I don't have an opinion on the matter, if you don't mind. I mean, both organizations we work well with. I don't have an opinion at this time on if we should amalgamate or not. That's up to those boards and those volunteers and the and Stuart Lazier and his committees. So with all respect, I don't have an opinion at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Burton, go ahead.
No, I'll let Terry sort of more or less answered it at this stage. I have talked to the people at the Village Green. Their priority right now is just getting the Village Green finished. That's their priority.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. For certain, if there was any talk of that happening, Councillor McKechnie, it would come back to this council, as the Station on the Green board is a board that's appointed by this council and created by this council. So it would come back here for a discussion for sure. Anybody else with any other questions to the updating of the foundation agreement? No? All right, well, we've got a mover and second around the floor, so I'm prepared to call it if members of the council are all present. Members of the council, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, Terry, appreciate that. Moving on, we've got to talk about Stayner Downtown Open Space, Phase 1. This is in regards to tender results, which were quite eye-opening. Recommendation, be resolved that Council of the Township hereby, 1, receive PCR 017-2021. It's the Stayner Downtown Open Spaces Improvement Plan, Phase 1 tender results report for information. Item number 2 is approve utilizing funds from the budgeted items and capital grants reserve to offset the balance of $685,568 for the overall project of Phase 1 of the Stayner Downtown Revitalization Project. Due to the present uncertainty of the Canada Healthy Communities Grant, any shortfall will also be covered by the Gas Tax Capital Grants Reserve. And item number 3 is approve the tender submitted by Coco Paving in the amount of $1,190,531.93, which includes HST, for the Stayner Downtown Renewal Project. And Terry, I think that should say Phase 1, should it not? At the end of that sentence?
Yes, it could.
I think it probably should. Okay, just maybe ask the clerk to make an amendment to approve tender submitted by Coco Paving Inc. in the amount of $1,190,531.93, including HSD, for the Stayner Downtown Renewal Project Phase 1. That's correct? I believe that's correct. Okay, mover and seconder on this motion, please. Where are we at? Councillor Walker and Councillor Broderick. Walker and Broderick. Okay, Terry, do you have anything you want to add? I can appreciate the problem with tenders at this time of year, right? Boy, Terry?
Yes, you're absolutely correct, Your Worship. So as you can see from my report, the prices of the tender came in a little higher, or perhaps significantly higher, depending on how you see that number, of approximately $249,991, excluding HST. So we're looking for council to cover that extra amount from the tender. Clearview Township received 2 tenders, one from Coco Paving as well as a second one from Arraigns Construction. There was a difference of approximately $56,000 between the 2 contractors. This has been a long ongoing process with this project. You know, we've come a long way. We're basically shovel ready. The outcome of the grant is we should be hearing any day now, Your Worship. So we were told, middle of July to middle of August, and I think we're almost there. So we should be hearing shortly. But time isn't running out. If we want to get this project done by the end of 2021, we got to get the shovel in the ground fairly soon. So available for any questions that council or yourself may have.
All right, thank you, Terry. And I can appreciate the general urgency to get this moving if we're going to do it this year. Before we go to questions, can I ask, Kelly is here, I believe, through the CAO. Ms. McDonald, would you be able to advise on the account? We have funds available to cover this, if it expands beyond, to cover this 685. Is that correct, Ms. McDonald?
Yes, Your Worship, we did. Terry and I went through the numbers quite extensively, and we're confident that we have the money within either the grant or the budget items reserved to cover off the additional $285,000. Should we not be successful in the grant, which I've seen Amanda's grab applications, and I'm positive we will be successful, But we will have the additional top-up gas tax funding for 2021 to cover off that shortfall.
Okay. Okay. So to preempt this, I would ask that through the CAO and through Terry, as soon as we know, if you could please advise us if there's any changes. Obviously, we'd have to bring it back. Members of council, you got any questions to Terry in regards to this work? Okay, I see Walker, Mr. Walker, and then Mr. Patterson. Go ahead, Robert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to Terry. Terry, I didn't see it in the report time frame. Approximate start to approximate finish.
Terry?
Through Your Worship, off the top of my head, Councillor Walker, you stumped me. I don't know the exact timelines. Perhaps Mr. Perot might be aware. He helped me with this with the tender, through Burnside. Unless he knows off the top of his head, but I don't recall. I can get back to you, Councillor Walker, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking is I see the Kinsmen are announcing that in September 18th, they're having a function at the park, Centennial Park, as well as a street dance and activity. So that's why I'm asking, because I feel that we might be in a conflict with development as well as the activity that they have planned at that time. That's the reason I'm asking that. And the other question I have is, were we able to resolve our entrance off of Main Street?
Good question.
Phase one.
Has to go to the CAO and Terry.
Go
ahead. One of you guys should be able to handle this.
I could answer the first question, Councillor Walker. You're right. There was a new event that was added. I feel quite confident that I think the construction will not affect the park area. It might affect parking in that area, but the main construction is from the coffee, Highway 26, the coffee culture, down towards where that's where Brock Street starts to bend. The main construction area will be in there, not really from where the bend to the park is or to the pavilion. So I think we should be able to do both at the same time. I will reach out to the Kinsmen as well and make sure that they're comfortable and that they're aware of this project. But I think we should be okay. Unfortunately, I'll have to defer the second question to Mr. Perot with respect to the street.
Okay, Mr. Perot.
And maybe he knows the timelines.
You want me to handle that, Your Worship? Through you to Councillor Walker. I know Coco is Coco Paving. I was speaking to them recently. They're doing some other work for us in the municipality, so they are ready to go. They're actually putting in locate requests preemptively. Doesn't hurt because it's taking quite a bit of time to get locates this year. So I know that they are eager to go. Until we have a pre-construction meeting, we don't know their timelines, but I suspect that it's probably from the looks of the amount of work that needs to be done. I would estimate that it's between an 8 to 12-week project. So depending on the start time that.
Thank you, Dan. The last question that Councillor Walker brought up was the access to the main street. Roger or Mr. Walker, that's correct? Is you're asking about?
Yes, if we were able to resolve that situation.
Through you, Your Worship, our discussions went well. They just weren't prepared to make a decision at this time. So we can adjust if necessary, but at this time it's not under discussion.
All right, well, we can still move along and have that discussion further then if necessary. Mr. Perot, go ahead.
And yeah, just to further that, I just might add that those items in that location were put in as a provisional item as well. So in the tender, there was a last minute change that we did before the tender went out. So those items in and around that location are provisional.
Good, thank you. That's what I was going to ask, if they were provisional. So that's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Good thorough questions right there. getting the staff all working on it. It's good. I like it. Any other questions that I see? Councillor Patterson, I believe. Yes, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, just along the same lines, two questions. Was there any consideration given to a cutoff date in terms of proceeding this year? For two reasons I ask is, this may not be the best time to be working if it gets too late into late fall, well, especially early winter. If you're talking about 8 to 12 weeks, by the way, you sort of got to have it done by, you got to be started in September. Was there any consideration given to deferring it or picking a date when it's a no-go this year? Was there also a thought in that decision-making that you might be able to get a better price next year when a lot of the backlog of the pandemic construction is gone? I'm not sure if that's wishful thinking or if this is the way the state of the union is going to be for the next few years.
I appreciate the question, Councillor Patterson. I don't want to see us delay it, to be honest. It's been delayed how many years now? But I'll put it to our staff if they've got any provisional delay built into this contract. Mr. Perot or Mr. Vachon?
I can answer, I suppose. Due to Councillor Patterson, no consideration has been made at this time. Our plans is to have this completed in 2021. Unless council directs us otherwise, our plan is to put some pressure and move the stakeholders forward to get it done.
Okay. And the second part of my question is if we use the reserve and we do eventually get the grant, will we use the grant money to top off the reserve again?
That's probably a good move, I would think. Terry or John, does that sound logical?
We can put our gas tax back into a reserve. It has to be specifically related, and if this qualifies, then it can go into that reserve.
Sounds logical.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other members of council with questions regarding this exciting report? No? All right. I want to thank all the staff that have worked on this. This has been a very good example of collaboration between our staff, various departments, various inputs from all areas of the staff to make this work. So to Mr. Ferguson, this is another example of how the senior management team work well together when they put together a plan. So thank you for that. Members of council, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. All right. Thank you, Mr. Vachon. We're moving over to Public Works now. So back to Dan and Mike, I guess. Temporary access agreement regarding Simcoe County Hogback Track. Okay. Recommendation be it resolved. Council of the Township hereby one, receive report PW 031-2021. It's a temporary access agreement with Simcoe County Forest Hogback Track dated July 26, 2021. And item 2, authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the temporary access agreement with the County of Simcoe to work on the lands of the County Simcoe Forest Hogback Track. All right, mover and seconder on this motion, please. Mr. Lamers, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And Dan, is this something you'd like to just explain a little bit further, or I think it's a pretty good report? Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I get that, council's very familiar with the work that we've done at Hogback Road in second concession this year. This is kind of the final piece of the improvements that we want to make at that intersection. And speaking with the county, they just require a simple agreement that we enter in with them to cut back the mound of dirt, the boulevard area on the northwest corner of the intersection. It's a few dozen meters of dirt that kind of sticks out there and improve the sight lines.
Yeah, kind of a mixture of sand and dirt, if I recall, in that sort of part of the world. Good stuff. Any questions to the report, members of council? I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Dan, for that update. Members of council, you've got a mover and seconder on this motion. I'm prepared to call it. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries. Okay, thank you, Dan. And moving over to finance, this is something that had to do with Habitat for Humanity, as we did discussion. Was it last week or last meeting before? Anyway, recommendation be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby 1, approve a 100% decrease in building permit fees for Habitat for Humanity of South Georgian Bay for their single-family home project located at 219 John Street, Stayner. And item number 2, approve that the building permit fee reduction be funded from the from the Tax Stabilization Reserve Fund. Is there a mover and seconder on this motion? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Broderick. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Broderick. Ms. McDonald, would you like to speak to any of this?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report generated out of the Habitat for Humanity delegation, and Deputy Mayor Burton had requested us to investigate whether or not we could waive building permit fees as well as the development charges. So I got together with our Chief Building Official, Scott McLeod, and he assures me that yes, as long as the funds are coming from a different source, we are permitted to waive the fees for them. So we're looking at $2,718 that would also be funded from the Tax Stabilization Reserve.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that information. Any questions from members of council to our staff? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for bringing this forward a couple of meetings ago. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. All right, Council, Creemore, BIA Council Representative appointment. So this is as a result of our discussions about our board replacements. 2 members of our council have declared a conflict for this. So Councillor McKechnie and Councillor, where are we at? Councillor Broderick have both declared. So we'll just acknowledge that they've declared. Madam Clerk, read the report. I'll look for a mover and seconder. LS 008, Creemore BIA Council Representative Appointment. Recommendation be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby 1, receive LS 008 2021 Creemore BIA Council Representative Appointment dated July 26, 2021. And item 2, direct council. That council direct staff to amend the Townships Committee and Board Appointment Bylaw 19-06 to remove Councillor McKechnie and appoint Councillor Broderick as the council representative for the Creemore Business Improvement Area. I need a mover and seconder to put it on the floor. Can I have a mover? Deputy Mayor, seconded, Councillor Lamers. And Sasha, is there anything you want to add? I mean, it's Councillor McKechnie submitted his notice of resignation from the board. Councillor Broderick submitted his indication that he was interested in joining the board. So is there anything further you want to add to that, Sasha?
Thank you, Mayor Measures. You summarized it perfectly.
How about that? Councillor Patterson, did you have something you want to mention, or you had mentioned that earlier or not? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I do. Just a recognition that where we are with the BIA, they're late in their mandate, and their plans are, they've worked as any new group, especially the BIA. It takes a while to get a program together. So I have some concern and some sensitivity to the alignment of council and their representative with the BIA. And so the first question I have in the process is to the clerk. Was the BIA consulted? Maybe consult's the last word. Were they notified that there was this was happening tonight, and that they were welcome to, for example, to put their comments in terms of what they were looking forward to in terms of support from council or their representative? I say this because I recognize reality. This council has many issues that we are unanimous on, as you saw tonight, and there are others that we feel strongly about, and we respect each other's opinions, but we differ. And late in the mandate, just coming out of transition of pandemic, I wouldn't want to see anything that would be out of alignment with where the BIA is thinking of going. So I asked the question again, was the BIA consulted in terms of what support they were looking for from a representative?
Councillor Patterson, I'm going to defer directly to the clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Patterson. As policy, more unwritten procedure is that we don't necessarily go out to our committees and boards and ask what representative they would like from their council members. That's decided at the council level based on each member's workload, both internally and externally, for their council committees and boards that they work on and other agency boards. I did notify the BIA president that I did have a report coming to council. They were aware of Councillor McKechnie's resignation as he sent it to every member on the board. I did advise that Mayor Measures sent out information to council looking for feedback and for people to come forward to be the council representative. And Councillor Broderick was great enough to put his hat into the ring, so to speak, to be that board's council representative and to support their initiatives at the council level.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And I'll just support that further by acknowledging that, yes, I did acknowledge Councillor McKechnie's notice of resignation from the BIA board. And I did email all members of council, and I included Councillor McKechnie in that email. I mean, I just emailed council@clearview.ca simply to ask if there's any member of this council who would be interested in serving out the term as the BIA representative of council. And as I've stated to each one of you individually, I've also publicly said I will not appoint anyone to any board that they don't want to be on. So it's simple as that. I've said that to each one of you individually when we began the term. Each of you shared with me your interests and where you felt you wanted to serve, and I felt that it was the best thing we could do at the beginning of the term to try to put people in the positions that they want to be on. And so I think that's fair, and I support that today. So anyway, that's just my further support. Councillor Patterson, go ahead.
Yeah, so it may be that a group, in this case the BIA, may consider that they would like to have at least had a discussion about the job that the rep is taking on. So it may just be that they want to do what we all do, is set an understanding in terms of reference, for example, as they come in, because I'd hate to be perceived as parachuting in someone that they didn't think would work. So, but my point is the latter part, is that the kind of a decision like this with a group as important as the BIA and the number of issues that come before this council, I think it's a professional act to talk to them. And if they don't reply to an email, let's say it was short notice or even a week, if they're on holiday, then you don't bring your report in until you've had a discussion with. It's not meant as a criticism to the clerk. I'm just saying as my preference for the process. We may not be obliged to do it. We do a lot of things that it's just right to do, not necessarily what we're told to do. So I can't participate in the vote. Well, I will participate in the vote. I think we should wait until we've talked to the BIA and then come back again. An alternative is suggested by Councillor McKechnie in his resignation was that we really need to have a rep. They're enjoying tremendous support from the township. It's been better than it's ever been in the past. All the people that Kayla and others that helped them, Amanda and Terry and Dan, it really gives them a lot of support. So I don't see this as a vital position to fill at this stage of the program. So that may be an alternative, just to leave it as it is. And I'd like to hear the BIA's opinion on that as well. So I'll be voting no to this appointment at this time.
Well, thank you for your opinion. As the mayor, I want to point out that every committee of council has some type of council representative on every committee of council. Further is in my role as the mayor, I'm an ex officio on all boards, and I have participated in a few of the council meeting or board meetings of the BIA and enjoyed it very much. And you're right, they have got a pretty exciting group down there right now, and they do have a good relationship with our staff. But I also think as a person who represents the taxpayers, I think that it's important that we have a open and transparency in acknowledging that elected officials are on this board, to acknowledge taxpayers' dollars are being spent. And so I think that that's important for transparency and procedure. So I'm happy to continue to support having members of council serve on our boards. Madam Clerk, you had your card up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. For you to Councillor Patterson, I can appreciate exactly what Councillor Patterson is speaking to, but we also have to be cautious. And when I say we, I mean council needs to be cautious, because if you provide that leeway to the Creemore BIA board, then you need to provide that leeway to our other council committees and boards, because they're volunteers just the same as our volunteers on the BIA board. And it can be a slippery slope when you're providing that type of authority to the boards and committees to choose their council reps, because as we spoke about before, each council member has their own commitments to other agencies, external and internal. So it really depends on their schedule and what they can provide to that board in relation to support, in relation to coming to meetings. And specifically, the council representative role is outlined in the BIA Creemore constitution. So.
Excellent, thank you very much. I just want to acknowledge if there's any other members of council who have any questions or comments, we'll go back to you. Councillor Lamer's disappeared. I'm just looking to see if he's still here. Anyway, okay, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead. You had another question?
Make it clear, because I appreciate the clerk's comments. I'm not talking about authority. I'm talking about advice. And I've always been a strong proponent, as people know. And when it comes up again, I'll probably raise it as a procedural matter again. I think all our committees, because we thinned them down to the most vital, the most important, and the most effective, that they have a chance to state their preference in terms of the kind of representation they expect. It doesn't mean they're going to get a perfect match. None of us are a perfect match. But what they will be given is the professional deference to say, these are the kind of programs we're looking for. And if you can manage to have a person that has the following experience on your council, that's the kind of thing we look at. And then it's up to council, clearly up to council, who has the authority then to appoint the person. Having been informed by each of our committees, in this case, we're talking about the BIA, in terms of who should be their representative. I think it's only fair as well.
Well, we work within the procedures that we have outlined for us right now. It's in the procedures that council appoints all members to all boards, and council also appoints a elected official to all of our boards to act as a council representative. So that's in our procedures right now. So I think that's what we're doing here tonight. As far as asking for advice, at the time of our procedural bylaw review, you can bring that up, and perhaps members of the public can bring up their advice. But at this time, this is the procedures we got to work with. So I appreciate that. Members of council, is there anything further? I'm prepared to call the motion. Are there those in favor? Are there any opposed? Thank you. So noted. The motion will carry, and I would congratulate Councillor Broderick and appreciate him stepping forward to represent council at the Clearview or Creemore Business Improvement Area Board. All right, well, welcome back, members, all of our members, McKechnie and Broderick, and we'll move on. Council, we have request for community assistance grant, Creemore Baseball. They're the North Dufferin Baseball League team, the Creemore baseball team. Recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive LS 009-2021, request for community assistance grant from the Creemore Baseball North Dufferin, report for information, and item 2, approve the community assistance grant to the Creemore Baseball North Dufferin in the amount of $3,000. Can I ask for a mover and seconder, and then we'll have a discussion? Deputy Mayor Burton and Mr. Broderick. Deputy Mayor Burton and Mr. Broderick. All right, this report comes as a result of the deputation that we held at our last council meeting, or the one previous, kind of forgetting now. We asked for this to be sent to our committee. Again, by procedure, we have a committee of the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Leishman and our Deputy Clerk, Brenda Fall. She is the staff resource, and they review all of our community assistance grant applications, and this one was recently reviewed. So I go to the Deputy Mayor. Do you have anything you'd like to comment in regards to this report, Deputy Mayor, from your committee's report?
Yeah, I just, the committee got together and, I mean, we're doing this because of the need for their new jerseys that they have to have as a result of changing the name from, that had indigenous implications. So they have to get complete new jerseys that have to meet certain criteria, so they're not cheap. So we agreed to the amount of $3,000.
Thank you very much. Councillor Leach is also on the committee. Have you got anything further you'd like to add? You're on the committee. Is there anything further you'd like to add, Councillor Leach? She disappeared. Okay.
Fumbly fingers.
Sorry.
No, I have nothing. Well, yeah, no, the 3,000 is fine. We just felt that we already gave them a break on their fees. So the 3,600 might have been a bit, I think they'll come up with the other 600. I hope anyway. I'm sure they'll be fine. And it does leave money in our kitty for more requests if we get any by the end of the year. So.
All right, thank you, Council. All right, thank you. Is there any questions then for this report? Okay, Mr. Walker, anybody else just looking? And Mr. McKechnie. Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I really think 3,000 is just a little too much, considering that we gave them a break with $650 in diamond fees. I feel that together that would give them a $2,500 break, which is more than any other group got in our grant assistance program, I believe, this year. So I myself would rather see that amount lowered to $2,000.
All right, I appreciate that. I've got some other cards. If you want to hold, I will come back to you if that's an amendment. Mr. McKechnie, did you want to jump in with your card request?
Yes, I would like to see an amendment that they produce receipts and or other documentation for when they buy the jerseys, and so that we know that the money is going towards the jerseys. So I'd like to see that amendment as well.
Okay, so you are calling for an amendment. And again, as the chair of the meeting, I always look for the word amendment. So okay. I appreciate that. So Mr. McKechnie is calling for an amendment to the motion asking for receipts to indicate the expenditure. Can I have a seconder on the motion? Request to speak first. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So it sounds like Councillor Walker's wanted one amendment and Councillor McKechnie wanted a different amendment. So,
but I'm looking for the word amendment, right? I mean, I can't determine whether people are making amendments or not. So the councillor said amendment, so I'm going with his amendment.
So, but am I correct? Am I hearing there's two different amendments, one from Councillor Walker and one from Councillor McKechnie? Is that correct?
Not yet, Councillor Burton, or Deputy Mayor Burton, because Councillor Walker didn't call amendment. He said he'd like to see it reduced to 2,000. That's all he said. So again, as the chair, I look for the word amendment. We went around this issue before. Until the councillor says the word, they're asking for an amendment. Right. I don't have the procedure to change the discussion. Okay, so again, I don't make the amendment as your chair. I have a mover on an amendment, Mr. McKechnie. Is there a seconder? Mr. Walker, you're the seconder on the amendment asking for some receipts to be produced on behalf of this donation if it's successful. Is that correct? That's where we're going. Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have that recorded? Ms. Clerk? Yep. Just checking to make sure you got the motion. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I can call the amendment, or we can continue to have other amendments. But we call it. Yes. Go ahead, to Councillor Patterson.
Just a clarification. I understand what the motion is trying to do. Would it be less? Would we do this like we do with other groups, where we have an upset of $3,000 and we will we'll pay an invoice that they've incurred based on the final value, up to $3,000.
It's not really exactly how the grant program works. We have been granting various groups grant money. part of the grant process is to provide financial information about what they're spending it on. This request did come in with a pretty loose letter, to be frank, of what the request was. And the committee reviewed it, as I pointed out, the deputy mayor and Councillor Leishman, and that's fine. So that's why we have this report in front of us.
Then I'm wondering why it's before us right now until we got that letter and the assistance grant wasn't granted on that basis.
You broke up there. I didn't quite understand, Tom.
The reason I do that is I assumed we got the information when we to the grants committee. So if we didn't, if it was a bit loose as you described it, I didn't hear that from Barry or Connie. But if it was loose, then maybe we should have asked for that before we granted.
I concur. Deputy Mayor Burton, would you like to comment on the amendment as presented, looking for financial information?
It's like I'm not exact. I have no problems asking for receipts. That's you know, we're going to give them the $3,000, and that $3,000 is going towards their jerseys. That's what we were told. That's what we based the decision on. So I don't have a problem asking for receipts. So the amendment says, you know, we now, does that mean they have to provide receipts after we give them the money, or they have to give us the receipts before we give them the money? That's the question. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we have to have faith in these people who are doing this, and you know, we have to believe in what they're asking and what they're telling us. I don't think that, you know, they would purposely be making up fictitious numbers. You know, so they've obviously gone and got quotes in that to do this. And we have to remember that this is a result of a motion that we passed that they have to change their name. So no fault of theirs. It's just the reality of what we're facing today in political correctness. And I have no problem doing that with all respect to the Indigenous people. So I have no problem doing that. So I think as a result, we need to fund them for their jerseys. They are a Clearview team. It's that simple. They're a Clearview team, and we need to support them in this effort.
I have a deputy clerk who's joined us, council. So I'd like to go to the deputy clerk.
You're breaking up, Your Worship. I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. Should I speak up a little better? Is that better? Okay. What's going on with my computer here? Okay. All right, Deputy Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. I just wanted to remind Council that you did give a community grant to the Creemore baseball team several months ago, and you didn't ask for a receipt then. It might just be a little bit, it might be a little awkward asking for them to show a receipt for the jerseys when you didn't actually ask the other baseball team to produce anything for theirs either. So I just wanted to remind you of that fact, just in case. I respect what Councillor McKechnie is saying in this instance, but you don't ask it of any other organization that comes forward with a request. Just my comments.
All right. So Councillor Walker had his card up, but I would like to acknowledge Councillor Patterson saying that it was a little loose, and it's true. It is a little loose, and that's the unfortunate part of the way the grant system's been working, particularly during COVID, because there's a combination of our COVID assistance grant as well as our community assistance grant work. And so I can appreciate that. But I also think that we're doing the best we can right now, given the trying times. And so it is a difficult decision. So thank you, Madam Clerk, or Deputy Clerk, for that. If I can go to Councillor Walker, you had your card up next.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Deputy Clerk, how much did we give the other Creemore baseball team to change their name on their jerseys?
They requested $1,400.
So then I would like to make an amendment that we give them $2,000 towards their jerseys.
Okay, we're gonna have to hold on that because we got one amendment already on the floor. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Through you to Councillor Walker, and Deputy Clerk Falls or the Deputy Mayor or Councillor Leishman could correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that amount that was given to the Creemore baseball team back in May was because their jerseys didn't require much changing. I think it was a patch that just needed to be changed. I believe with the senior and junior teams that they're requiring all new jerseys.
That's correct.
All right. Council, we've got an amendment on the floor from the original motion, which asks for receipts to be offered. Madam Clerk, would you be able to read what you have, and then I'll call the motion.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Just one moment. So many screens up.
I know, I apologize.
The motion before Councillor, moved by Councillor McKechnie, seconded by Councillor Walker, and that receipts be provided by the Creemore baseball team to the township showing the use of the community assistance funds for the purchase of jerseys.
Fair enough. Any questions of that? Okay, Council, I'm prepared to call the motion on this. All those in favor on the amendment? Are there those opposed? And that motion will fail. That's a failed motion. The amendment has failed. Councillor Walker, I defer to you. You did have another amendment.
Yes, Your Worship, I would like to make an amendment that we give them $2,000 with no receipts required.
Okay.
Simply because they've already had $640 some granted to them already, more than others have with their fees waived.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Walker. Is there a seconder on this motion? Councillor McKechnie. Councillor McKechnie, you're the seconder on this motion. All right. Is there any discussion on this motion? Any discussion on this motion? No discussion. Madam Clerk, could you read back what the motion would be as an amendment?
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Moving my screens again, sorry. That the motion before council be amended as follows, that the amount for community assistance be amended to $2,000.
Mr. Walker also included something about no receipts required. I'm not mistaken. Mr. Walker said something about no receipts required.
Sorry, Mayor Measures, the original motion didn't require any receipts, so I didn't believe that it needed to be included in the motion, but I'm more than happy if that's what Councillor Walker would like in his amendment.
Councillor Walker?
Yeah, if the first motion didn't require receipts, then that's fine. I just wanted to make it clear that I wasn't looking for the receipts with this amount, so 2,000 is fine.
Madam Clerk, again, one more time, please reread the motion, the amended motion.
The amendment moved by Councillor Walker, seconded by Councillor McKechnie, that the motion before council be amended as follows, that the amount for the community assistance grant be amended to $2,000.
Council, you've heard the amended motion. I'm prepared to call the motion. Are there those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion also fails. So, members of council, we have the original motion as presented to us without the two amendments. Are there anything further we want to discuss about the original motion? All right. And just correcting myself, Deputy Mayor and Broderick, is that right? As the mover and seconder on the original motion? Kind of getting confused myself. Thank you, guys. Okay. Members of council, the original motion is still in front of us then. And is there anything further? All right. I'd like to call the motion then. All those in favor? Are there those opposed? And that motion will carry then. Thank you. Yes. Members of council, thank you for that. And yes, go ahead, Councillor Patterson.
Well, I just help out a fellow councillor there, Connie.
Connie.
Yeah.
Do we want to do that again, or?
And I'm sorry.
How was the vote?
I actually voted yes.
So there'll be for the purposes of clarity, if there's any delay in digital, I will ask for the motion to be called again. All those in favor, please hold your cards up. No digital delay. Everybody's comfortable? Those opposed? And that motion will carry. And thank you very much for your patience, everybody, and I appreciate your input. For those that are keeping score, we have a lot of items on our procedural bylaw that we need to discuss, and this is going to be one of them. So thank you. All right, council, I got to get back to my agenda, which I took off my computer because you weren't hearing me very well. Ward boundary realignment. LS010 Ward boundary realignment report. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report LS010 2021 Ward boundary realignment dated July 26, 2021 for information. Can I have a mover and seconder on this important motion? Mr. Broderick, Mr. Patterson, thank you very much. Any questions or comments to our clerk's report? Mr. Patterson, and then Mr. Lamers. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, since I raised the question, not the concern, the last meeting, I just want to say to the clerk, actually the clarification was perfect. I had no issue. I had no issue with either one, 5A, or the way I read it. It was just the fact that they were different. So as I saw it. So your explanation is fine with me.
Well, that's great news. Thank you. Is there anything further? Oh, yes, Mr. Lamers had something?
I wasn't at the last council meeting when this was voted on, so I won't be voting tonight on this. It looks like a good report, though.
Okay. So would you just like to say the words that you're abstaining?
I'm abstaining to the vote on this one.
Okay. Thank you. Just for clarity, I appreciate it. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
And just for procedurally, through you, Mayor Measures, to Councillor Lamers, when you abstain from voting, it's a vote in the negative.
Correct. Yeah, even abstaining does mean that. I know that, but I think it's appropriate to state the case rather than simply just vote no. Deputy Mayor. Yes, Mary.
Through the clerk, if I may, Your Worship, I think just to advise Councillor Lamers, just because he wasn't here at the last meeting, he's read this report, he's aware of what's in that report. There's no reason for him to recuse himself from voting on this report.
I don't mind saying that, and I support what you're saying. Madam Clerk, you can go ahead and say something there.
Through you, Your Worship, to Deputy Mayor Burton, that's correct. Procedurally, there's nothing stopping Councillor Lamers from voting on this motion. It's a personal decision of his own if he chooses to abstain.
And I would support that any member of council can attend any of these meetings or vote at any time if they choose to or not. I mean, that is how we work here. So, and that's democracy. So that's comfortable. All right. Is there any further discussion though on the actual content rather than the voting on it? Is there anything about the content that anybody has any questions on? All right. I'd just like to put in a commentary on this, and that is that I really appreciated our clerk's review of this and the description of the wards written out was very, very, very helpful. I think that makes it extremely clear as to where it is, as well as the mapping that can be sometimes problematic if there's mapping errors. But I like the written description on this particular report, and that was very helpful to me, and so I appreciated that. Thank you. Yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. I'm going to take the opportunity now just to thank the clerk's department staff, specifically Brenda Falls, our deputy clerk, Kayla Reimer, and Sarah Corbett on all their work that they did throughout this process, and our previous clerk, Pam Fettis. I know they put a lot of effort into doing the public engagement, and they should be recognized for that.
No doubt, no doubt. You know, actually, it's certainly another example of collaboration. So good job. Members of council, we have a motion in front of us. I have a mover and seconder, and I'm prepared to call the motion. Those in favor, please. And that carries, unless there's an opposed or non-vote. Thank you. That does carry, and thank you very much for that, and I appreciate that. I guess what this also does is puts forward the work for the clerk's department to get this ready for January. So good for you. All right, members of council, we're on to the bylaws. We've got a group of bylaws here. So we'll get through bylaw number 2172. It's an official plan amendment for 10581 County Road 10. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2172, being an official plan amendment for lands located at 10581 County Road 10, be presented and read a first, second, and third time. Finally passed on the 26th day of July 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder on the bylaw, please? That's Deputy Mayor Burton, Councillor Broderick. Any questions on the bylaw? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And are there any opposed? And thank you. The bylaw carries. Yeah. Appointment bylaw, which is 21-73. So this is the appointment bylaw. Where is it? I had it here on my desk earlier. So this is the appointment bylaw here. It's an on-desk item as a result of our in-camera discussions. As I mentioned earlier, I'll read the motion, but the bylaw content indicates that we are adding a representative to the Brentwood Hall Board. We're adding a representative to the Creemore Station on the Green Board. And we're also adding a representative to the Clearview Accessibility Advisory Committee. And further, we are removing one member from the BIA board, volunteer. We're also removing Councillor McKechnie from the BIA board, and we're adding Councillor John Broderick to be appointed as the council representative on the BIA board. So again, thank you to the volunteers who put forward their name. I'm going to read the motion. Recommendation, be it resolved that bylaw number 2173, being a bylaw to amend appointment bylaw number 19-06, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on this 26th day of July 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder on the bylaw? Mr. Walker, Mr. Lamers, and council, I'm prepared to, yes, Mr. McKechnie?
I'll not vote on this bylaw, Your Worship, since I'm involved. So,
Mr. Broderick? Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't be voting on this either.
All right. In fact, I think members of, or the two members can withdraw as their conflict of interest was indicated earlier in the meeting. So you can simply withdraw if you wish before I call the motion. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, you can acknowledge that they've withdrawn. Yes, Mr. Patterson, did you have something? Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to support this with a note based on my comments on item LS 008-2021 deference for.
All right, I appreciate that. Members of council, anything further? It's the bylaw, on desk item. I'm prepared to call the bylaw. All those in favor? And that motion carries. The bylaw carries. Thank you very much. Welcome back, Councillor Broderick and Councillor McKechnie. All right, Council, 2174, amend the fees and charges bylaw number 17-110, item F in regards to bylaw enforcement. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2174 being a bylaw to amend Schedule F of the fees and charges bylaw 17-110 be presented and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on the 26th day of July 2021. I have a mover and seconder on this bylaw. Councillor Deneen, Councillor Walker, thank you. And any questions? I'll call the motion. I'll get to you, Councillor Leishman, don't you worry. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Members of council, 2175 Creemore Village Green Management Agreement. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2175 being a bylaw to enter into a Creemore Village Agreement be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed. It's 26th day of July 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Deneen and Councillor Patterson, thank you very much. Any questions on the Village Green? All those in favor? And the bylaw carries. Thank you. Pet licensing agreement, DocuPet. Recommendation be it resolved. Bylaw 2176 being a bylaw to establish a pet licensing services agreement with DocuPet Inc. Be presented and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on the 26th day of July 2021. I have a mover and seconder on this bylaw. Deputy Mayor Burton, Councillor Lamers. Okay. Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? And the bylaw carries. Thank you. And ward boundary realignment 2177. This is the bylaw that will activate the direction given by council. Be it resolved that bylaw 21-77, being a bylaw to redivide the ward boundary realignment in the township of Clearview, be presented and read a first, second, and third time. Finally passed on the 26th day of July, 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Patterson, Councillor Leishman. Thank you. And any questions? I will call the bylaw. All those in favor? And that bylaw carries. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor. Perfect. All right, council, I'm moving on to my last page, which is a temporary agreement with the County of Simcoe. Here we go. Hope you guys can still hear me. Temporary access agreement, Simcoe County Hogback Track. You heard the Deputy Director of Public Works speak about this. Recommendation be it resolved. The bylaw 2179, being a bylaw to enter into a temporary access agreement with the County of Simcoe, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 26th day of July, 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder on this agreement? Bylaw. Mr. Broderick, Mr. Lamers, any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the bylaw. All those in favor? And that bylaw carries. Thank you very much. Item 13, notice of business, new business, notice of motion, new business. Seeing none, bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting. Recommendation, be it resolved that bylaw 2180, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the July 26, 2021 council meeting, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 26th day of July, 2021. Deputy Mayor Burton, I saw your card. Is there a seconder on this great motion? Mr. McKechnie. And I will call the motion. All those in favor? And the confirmatory bylaw passes. Members of council, motion to adjourn is coming right up. Before we leave, I just want to acknowledge, I forgot to mention it earlier, I want to welcome Her Excellency Mary Simon as our new Governor General for Canada. So that was really nice to see that was happening today. I haven't really caught up on the news on it, but I did see that the induction did take place. And so I want to acknowledge Her Excellency Mary Simon. Motion to adjourn. Recommendation, be it resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 8:57 p.m. Mover and seconder on the adjournment, Mr. McKechnie, Councillor Leishman. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you everyone for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you all at some of our special meetings that are coming up. Otherwise, please enjoy